All right, and
I like it. Actually, I like the show.
welcome to Anonymous Fights Back. We are live. Um, I would just like to add, something that we will not be broadcasting live onto YouTube for the next 90 days. I do apologize. We encountered a streaming ban to YouTube, and so we will be manually uploading our episodes up onto YouTube for the next 2.5 months. Without further ado, what our we want to talk about John Lang. So,
Yeah.
anybody want to kick it off? Like, I mean, I know a lot of our viewers are not familiar about John Lang or who John Lang was or what's going on or
I,
any of that stuff.
I think it's probably best if James kicks it off because he knew him actually.
John?
Okay. Here, let me give you guys a little bit of a timeline. That way, there's some background for the people that don't understand or don't know, and then anybody can fire questions off at me or whatever after that. So back in, I believe it was 2015. I'm not sure. It's a while ago now, a few years ago now, almost. There was activist that was murdered, we suspect, that was ruled a suicide. And it was all over the local media. It was all over in our activist networks. And what was weirder was the guy was posting in our news feeds and Fresno People's Media and in all kinds of different places all over Facebook and all over his own wall. And all of us were friends with them at the time, too. He posted a weird post saying something about he was going to get killed, and if he was wound up dead in 3 days, that it wasn't him committing suicide, and it was probably the police or somebody suspicious. And the post was really, really cryptic, but really telling. And then all of a sudden, 3 days later, he actually wound up dead.
Yeah, after the fact, reading it was
We
really
went to the
creepy.
site. Couple of journalists here in the area, independent journalists in the area, went to the site and tried to film and get as much information and talk to the neighbors as we could. It, it was very bleak. Most of the people said that he kept it to himself. He did have cameras and all kinds of stuff, filming equipment and crap in his house that none of the information was released. The police basically ruled it a suicide by way of coroner, and nobody really seen him. I believe it was only his daughter and ex-wife that were even notified. And to this day, we really have no questions as to how John died. He supposedly stabbed himself in the back with a knife.
According to the coroner.
So, and
Yeah, in
that's
the upper
all
back.
the
There were, he had like a couple wounds in his upper back.
And they changed
no,
that
no, go
afterwards.
ahead. That's pretty much the timeline that I have. Other than that, it's pretty much been as much as media as we can get.
I,
And there's a bunch of different leaks. Fresno People's Media has a few to read if you want to go there for yourself.
the one thing you're pretty much right on the timeline as to when he started. It was almost exactly about a week ago. It was exactly 2 years ago when he died. So it was the 20th. So a little over a week ago.
Okay.
And yeah, the stabbing him in the back. They changed that later and said that was an erroneous report. But the reporter who reported that said that he was told that by the police, and even gave the officer's name that told him that. And so that it's kind of hard to believe him changing that up then and saying no, he wasn't in the back. And so, and there's no pictures with the autopsy. No pictures are in it. So
Yeah, there's a bunch of missing information.
yeah, there is. And I've been going through a lot of the videos of his and such as that. And one of his videos said that the next door neighbor was a pedophile. He was a sex offender, and said that he was an informant for the cops, and that he was helping the cops to plot against him. He was involved in the conspiracy. Well, I haven't found proof of that yet, but I have found proof just today that he indeed was a sex offender. He was charged with indecent liberties with a girl under 14. So not very credible guy, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I'd like to
Some other
lend
things.
John himself some credibility. I was friends with him for years, and when he posted or said things, it was very true. It was very knowledgeable. It was he was a little out there, and his message didn't really have an end point at most times, but he definitely wasn't stupid. And he might have been mentally incompetent in some cases, in certain to a certain degree. To for all I know, I wasn't too good a friend with him, just online basically, through the Anon network. But as far as I've ever seen from him, he was with it. He was not all that crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're
So,
all a
and
little out
a
there. Let's
lot of
face
people
it.
paint him to be
So
that way,
Yeah, that
especially
was
the
actually
local
yeah, that
media.
was like something somebody just commented on, was asking, was he stabbed under the influence, and you guys just answered that question.
yeah, I believe he was clean. In toxicology was clean, I believe.
Yeah.
So, uh, and I just the other day I read his diary. It's a long thing. I mean, really long. And it's posted on the WordPress site. Uh, he documented very meticulously. Other than there were a few gaps in there where there wasn't anything written. But I mean, it'd be hard to write down everything you do in your entire life. I think he did it mainly when there was a problem going on. So I don't find that to affect his credibility at all. And there's a lot of very accurate things, and in his videos especially, there's some very troubling things. And like in his diary, when he said that this person called or that person called, he didn't just say who called or why they called. He actually puts the phone number into his diary that they called from. And I've been running some checks on those to see who owned the phone that they called on. Kind of hard to do 2 years later because they may not be the same person that has that number.
Yeah.
But you can pretty well tell by who it comes up to whether or not it's still the person or not. Because, I mean, if it comes up, 20, 30 miles in another town, it's probably somebody else. But, if it comes back being 4 blocks away or something, you probably got the same person still has that phone. So,
Yeah, there's a bunch of different ways to check her out.
and he said in his diary that the one guy, Eli, was it Rodriguez, I think, or something? Anyway, his first name was Eli, and he said he thought that was not a real name, that was an alias of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
I did a check on it, and it brought up no Eli with that last name in the area, but Elio with that last name
Mm-hmm.
brought up quite a few. So, I think it was not really so much of an alias as just a little bit of a change in the name to try and throw people off. But it's definitely a mystery, that's for sure. What's the most troubling about it is he was convinced that the cops were going to kill him, and the cops were just doing things around his house and everything that, and caught on video, the cops just shouldn't have been doing, plain and simple. The guy in the van, there's 4 of us have been trying to track down the guy in that carpet cleaning van that put the fire in the next door neighbor's fence,
Uh-huh.
and we can't find him. We know his name. He's got 9 aliases. We know who he is, but you can't find him anywhere. It's like he dropped off the face of the earth. So,
There's another event that took place right when we were outside of the house, that And I don't like lending credibility to the fact that the police killed John Lang. I think it was more probably an altercation of somebody he allowed into his house. That's my actual theory. But I think that what's weird about this case is when we were outside out front it was about a half hour in, and we were outside talking to the neighbors, and a couple of very detective-like police showed up in an unmarked vehicle and got out and started telling us that we were out of place, like we needed to go. And
told you to be
it was
careful and
really,
like that.
really freaking odd that
Oh yeah, that is.
a couple of detectives showed up and on scene right after, right as we showed up, essentially.
Yeah.
So I'd like to throw that part out there, and that's on film. I believe it'd be on Free Fresno YouTube.
I have it.
Okay, somebody
it's
should
on there.
link that.
It is on there. That's where I got it from. I have a question about that. Did you guys say anything online before you went there?
No, actually, we didn't. We may. That's a good question. Actually, I think there was a post saying we're on our way online.
Okay, you do know that Fresno PD runs the Beware software?
Oh God, I know that.
Yeah.
I'm fully aware. I actually don't give a shit.
Yeah.
What exactly is that like Beware software?
Well, what it does, it assigns a threat assessment for a person when they get a call, and it's based on the house, not the person.
Oh, that's.
But it also
Yeah.
to build its threat assessment of the current person that's there in that house, they monitor social media, and they use
And all kinds of other
things you say on social media. And so that would be a way for them to find out if you guys were going there. That's why I asked. And that could be why they showed up. But another thing about that is Dyer says that their Beware system doesn't have that function, that they insisted that be taken out and disabled.
Yeah, but they've got ShotSpotter and everything else too. They have it still.
Oh yeah. They got cameras. They got hundreds of cameras that they can monitor all over town, and move them around, pan and zoom remotely, and all that. I mean, this is Big Brother City.
Back on topic though too, that's another thing is there's police activity in front of John Lang's house all the time. He filmed it and monitored it. There's a great possibility that John Lang had contact with police consistently in his area because there was always police running back and forth in front of his house.
Yeah, that's a little bizarre.
Yeah. So, and we all of us activists do, because I mean, that's kind of part of the duty is as soon as you see something sketchy going on, especially with a Fresno police officer, is just pull out your camera and film it.
Yeah, definitely. So, we had a black helicopter a couple of weeks ago hovering across the road. I got my video camera, tried getting it up to get some video of it. And as soon as I did, that thing took off. And I mean, it was out of sight before I could get it turned on and running. It was weird, really weird. I don't know if there was anything to it or not, but it definitely was there.
Now, what did John think he was on to before he was murdered? That's the big question.
He did a bunch of different little, I think he was more hacktivist than anybody knew. He was real into technology and he owned his own business and he kind of just stayed put in his spot for the most part, as far as I know of him.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that he was like more black hat activist than anybody else, and would consistently talk with the people that would necessarily need to be talked with. He would constantly contact independent media people, and he would, like somebody was saying, he was independently researching ticket targeting events happening all over cities and like Walmarts and places where the pigs will just roll past and look for driver's license suspended and wait and hawk the car until the person comes out. and then get them. You know what I mean? And he was like
Yeah.
actively searching these things and talking about it online and contacting city officials and internal affairs people, and he was that kind of that kind of dude.
Yeah, he was definitely rubbing some people the wrong way, some powerful people.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's screwing with the department's source of income.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't think it was that big a deal until just a few days ago when I read about the ticket scam, and it was in his words, his diary, and it said that it started off talking about the Ferguson ticket scam that they had going, and Justice Department put an end to it, and they were taking in like $3 million a year in Ferguson, and Fresno's bigger.
And it happens in Fresno too, so they do that shit
He was
here.
he was a guy going around, standing around with signs, pointing out speed traps too at one time, wasn't he?
And it's kind of interesting because there's not a whole lot of people that get on board with that type of ordeal. Nobody's like, shit, I need to stop these traffic tickets. They're like a little bit more involved in the stuff that they are. So it didn't. He was one of the sole people involved in his deal with that, and he pushed it hard. Not it wasn't a bunch of people behind him on that all the time. So, and I feel bad because I never really caught on board. If there was enough people watching and giving a shit, then maybe things would be different. But we don't know. We just don't know. That's the whole point of the conversation we're having.
And that's why with Op Fresno that we're trying really hard to get as many people involved in it as we can, because if John had enough people involved, they wouldn't have been able to come after him like they did. If that's what happened, and like I say, I can't prove what happened at this point. So
yeah, I think the Fresno PD that they wiped something under the rug at that crime scene. I think that at least that's happened with regard to this case, and just because of John Lang and his ideals and his hatred for them, I think they just didn't give a shit when they got there. And maybe even if they were involved, not even directly, just behind the scenes and forcibly, that something happened that is not out in the public, that somebody knows, that we got to figure out. We got to fucking find that person.
Yeah, we do. And there's something that I find really, really troubling, and because it draws a parallel that just doesn't sit right, and that is, I don't know how many of you have heard about it, but the lieutenant that was killed over by Chief Dyer's house, and there's been accusations that Chief Dyer killed him, and the story that he went to the chief's house and then committed suicide out in front of the chief's house, just it doesn't make a lot of sense. For one thing, the coroner had told his wife that he didn't think it was going to come back a suicide because in 30-year career, he had never ruled a suicide from somebody shooting themselves in the chest.
Yeah, that's a little odd. Most people do it. Most
like
people pull their brains out in the head. Yeah, that's a little odd.
And so
Depends
that's
on the
odd.
angle.
And then you got John as a parallel. John was stabbed in a way that would be really hard to do yourself. And it's unlike, I mean, how many people do you know that stab themselves 3 times, even if it was in the chest, stab themselves 3 times, then set their house on fire? That's not a common way to kill yourself for sure. So,
yeah, most likely physically you wouldn't be able to do that. You'd be in so much pain that you probably wouldn't be able to get the stuff to do the rest of the deed.
The
right.
police report also says that there was a struggle. That it looked like there was a struggle, is what it says on the police report.
Right.
They reported that it looked like there was a struggle where John was found. So,
and I thought it was something significant when it first happened. I just lived like 4 blocks away when it happened, and they said that he was barricaded in. Okay, well, that's all it said, and I realize now that he did barricade himself in because he had tried to get people who had a license to carry a weapon to come and stay the night with him.
Yeah,
because he was so scared. So I imagine he did barricade himself in, but I think somebody got in that house and did something to him. Who, I don't know. You know, and I'm not going to say the police did it until I could prove something like that. That's for sure. I wouldn't do that.
What if the police
That'd
told
be
him to
irresponsible.
told him to back off because he was on to a scandal that was ruining the revenue? I mean, that doesn't sound like a likely story, but I wouldn't put it past the police, you know.
There's a lot of theories right now. You can keep throwing them out if you want.
Well, I mean,
yeah, as long as you throw it out as a theory, I don't have a problem with it. When you go out accusing somebody,
Yeah.
you need to have some evidence.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, theories need to be thrown out there because you toss it around, and that's how collectively we can come up with something that way, you know.
Well, obviously somebody said something to him to spook him enough to want people at his house with guns, or
yeah,
or the latter, but I don't think so.
Well, if you look into the case enough, too, you'll find that he was. They were trying, according to him, they were trying to set him up as a pedophile, and you know, to my knowledge, he had no record at all. You know, he ran a business and he was a pretty clean living guy. So I haven't seen anything to the contrary. But then there were people coming there having him work on boat motors and such as that, and wanting him to put counterfeit stickers on there or something to that effect. And he felt like they were trying to entrap him. And some of the ones that actually did it, he showed that they were close with several police officers, the ones that were doing it. In fact, Jody Murray at the paper, he says a lot about Jody Murray, and I don't know that what involvement Jody Murray had, but he did make a pretty good case that Jody Murray did come with two people to his house one day trying to set him up on that sticker thing.
Are you talking about registration stickers?
Yeah.
I believe he had a boat business. He owned a marine business.
But yeah, if you look at his YouTube channel, and it's still there, Marine Lang, it's called. So yeah, he had a boat repair business or something like that. He worked on them some way. So yeah, you know, there's a lot of troubling things about this case, and you know, there are several. You know, Op Fresno is about other things. It's about John Lang, but it's about other things too. You know, there's a lot of things that are troubling in Fresno. There's a lot of people get shot by the cops, for one thing.
That's what I've been hearing.
An unbelievable amount of people that are unarmed. So you have Dylan Noble. I don't remember the other guy's name. It was a mentally handicapped Mexican guy. I can't remember his name, but they shot him. I mean, they just got out of their car and just started shooting. And it turned out he was armed with a black nozzle for a hose.
Oh, that was him. Yeah, I do remember that very vividly. Yeah, on the hearing on the news.
And then you have that lieutenant that was really, really good friends with the chief. It's not copacetic for him to have died right within 100 feet of the chief's house, you know. So those things they're highly suspicious. I would say that. You know, I'm not, like I said, I won't make any accusations against anyone unless I know. But I have a lot of questions about it. I can tell you that.
There's a lot of corruption around this town.
Yeah, there is, and I mean, they're finding all kinds of it. The city gets money from HUD in the tens of millions of dollars, and can't answer for where it went. I mean, you know, there's a lot of that kind of corruption goes on.
And fights against homelessness, and you know, fights against marijuana laws, and just
right. Those are
there's
two
a
things
lot.
that
There's
I
a
was
lot of
bring
really stupid stuff that Fresno is
Yeah.
really known for.
Were they doing
Yeah,
that thing where they
are
were
two
picking up
things.
the homeless people and dropping them off in another city?
Yeah,
That's actually I kind of did a little research on that that corporation and listened to a interview with the founder, and there's some reasoning behind it, but there's also they do help some people. You know, some people actually get back to family members that they would never have ever contacted before, and what they do is bridge a gap instead of instead of just sending people to where they fucking think they can go, and then they wind up homeless again there, which happens, but it's not such a horrid thing as many people portray it to be.
No, there are other things with the homeless problem that I have a bigger problem with than that, because like you say, it's not really very clear that anything wrong is going on.
Yeah, no, like
But-
things like sweeping up homeless people's tents and putting them in
Yeah,
garbage cans and taking
bulldozing them and and taking them, and then claiming when they get sued by these people, which they've been sued 2 times over that, they get sued over it, and they make the argument that it's not destruction of someone's property because it had no value. Okay, that's the only thing in the world those people had. Inside those little cardboard and plywood houses that they put up to live in,
Mhm.
they have everything they own inside there. It might not be worth much, but it is to them, you know. And you can't just go take people's things like that. That's against the law. You can't do it. I don't care if they are homeless. It doesn't matter. And we tend to look at, and all of us have been guilty of it at some point. We look at homeless people like there's something wrong, and I think I have a theory that there's a reason for that we see the homeless people as having something wrong with them, because then we can keep thinking that that's not going to happen to us because they did something to cause that to them. But the fact is they didn't do something to cause that to them. That's a society problem, as a problem with our civilization and the way that we do things. For instance, we have, and I'm not some nut that wants to take somebody's property away from them and give it to the poor and all that. Don't get me wrong, but we bailed out all these banks, and these banks went through all these foreclosures back a few years ago, and now they're sitting on enough empty boarded up houses to house all the homeless people 4 times or 5 times, something to that effect.
That's true.
And we paid them all that money to bail them out because they were, quote, too big to fail. Okay, if you're too big to fail, then you wouldn't have failed. If you failed, you're not too big to fail. That's a moronic statement to say they're too big to fail. But we bailed them out, and they never had to pay it back. And now they're sitting on all these empty houses that they're hoarding it. They're hoarding the real estate, and that we got all these homeless people as a result. And it was their own greed in the mortgage markets that caused that problem. They started loaning money for mortgages to people that never could buy a house in their life because they couldn't qualify, and all of a sudden
they knew that these people were not qualified to pay back their loans.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they all got foreclosed on, and a lot of them became homeless. And there are a lot of other problems too. Police make people homeless at times. They throw people out of houses because of protective orders and such as that. And you're guilty till you're proven innocent. There's no, there's no fact involved or even probable cause. They just assume because somebody went in and says, I'm afraid of this person, that they need to get you away from them, and they don't have to prove anything. They just do it.
Yeah, especially with domestic disputes,
police.
that's like a standard order. As soon as they get out there, they sign their court order protection before they even get out the door of the jail.
Right, and it is temporary, but when they do it like that, but when something like that happens to you, it can throw you off kilter for years. It really can. It's pretty hard when you become homeless and you're out there on the street. I worked with the homeless in Fresno, and it's pretty rough. It really is, and they end up doing things. Not that they turn into terrible people, but you end up doing things that you never would have done prior to being homeless, just to survive. And they talk about people are there because of the drugs. Well, some of them are, true, or for alcohol or whatever, but some of them didn't do that until they got on the streets. And it's hard to live on the streets. It's really hard to live on the streets. And it gets pretty cold here at night in the wintertime. We have people die here in the wintertime because of the cold. So yeah, it's rough. And that's one of the big problems we have. And another big problem we have is the police department again. They've got a homeless task force. Okay, a homeless task force ought to be something that helps the homeless people out, you would think,
Yeah, not handle crimes and enforce the laws within the homeless community. It's like
right, exactly. And what they're doing is they're trying to make life so hard on them that they'll leave. Well, where the fuck are they going to go? They're
Yeah,
homeless. They
they
can't move.
you know what
You
Orange
know.
County's solution was is that they had a big bust on the Santa Ana River Trail, and they've been gradually getting them out of there. And what they've been doing is the state's solution was to hire 10 employees and offer medical services to these people. And I'm like, that's not a solution. That's like looking like you did something, but you really did nothing.
Yeah, at one point I researched what cities around the country have done to do it, and I was especially interested in the ones that were pretty successful with it. And one of those was Salt Lake City. And what they did is, and it was real hard for the leaders of the city to get everybody okay with it. They paid for every homeless person on the streets. They paid for an apartment, for all their turn on their utilities, everything. They paid for all of it to get them in there, and then help them to get a job.
That's a
And they
solution.
solved 90% of it. And the amazing thing is they made like they came out ahead like a couple $1 million. The city did by doing it. It didn't really. It took all that money up front, but the medical services that are required for them, just disappeared. They weren't spending the night outside in the cold, so they weren't going in the hospital every now and then and having a $40,000-$50,000 hospital bill or higher.
And just bailing on it,
So
yeah.
yeah, and so the city saved a ton of money by doing it. Not only that, when you get rid of all the homeless, and Fresno, would be the case for Fresno. If you cleaned up the homeless problem and fixed it, the tourists and people that were retired would come here to live, and the tourists would flood back in, and so the city would bring in millions of dollars from that. So it would pay for itself. But instead, they try to run them off and try and drive them away, and there's nowhere they can go.
Yeah.
So that's something that needs to be really needs to be fixed. But we're kind of getting a little off subject here, but that's kind of something that's always been pretty close to my heart. And so it's easy to get off on it, I guess. But back to John Lang.
Yeah, so hey, let me pull this back then, because we're talking about John Lang, and he became like scared for the police harassing him, but he wasn't scared at first because he actually spoke out against them, and he did this at the Fresno Bee, and there was this Jody Murray character was involved too, but he said they forwarded his IP address to the police, and that's when he got really scared.
And
his personal info was like delivered to the Fresno police, and that's when he thought he was like being harassed after that.
Yeah, and a lot of people will say that's hard to believe, and in a sense, I guess maybe so. But when you know a few things about it, like that Jody Murray is close with some police officers and sheriff officers and stuff, and then you know too, if you know much about computers and computer systems and such. Not hard to get a person's IP address who's coming onto that system if you're running that system. It's not hard at all. And not hard to trace it to where they're at either. So especially if you have law enforcement involved, and they can go to the ISP and find out who that is exactly.
No, and the Fresno Bee was also the first newspaper to say he was suiciding.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
Yeah, ABC as well. There was another journalist too that what was it? What is his name? I might have to look it up now. Colin, I think is his name. Anyway, from ABC 30 Fresno, and it was
ABC 30.
He was trying to listen to everybody, and when we were going off and everybody was about it, he would try his hardest to listen, and then he just dropped the case completely. He wouldn't discuss it, and he wouldn't pursue the police with his credibility and none of that. He just wouldn't even go further.
He was probably getting a lot of pressure from somewhere.
Oh, fuck me and everybody else in this city.
Well, right, from that side, but I mean from the other side too, and they could put even more pressure than you guys could,
Hogard. His last name is Hogard, Hoggard from ABC 30. He's still a journalist too. So you find he actually wrote an article about it too, but he just wrote it's like 150 words. The police said the guy committed suicide. That's it.
That's kind of It's kind of messed up.
Yeah, and
Well,
then
and,
wouldn't follow up after I staged a protest outside ABC 30 and tried to
Yeah,
call
because he
Corn
reached out to
Hobart
these
out.
newspapers.
Yeah, tried to put pressure on them a week like after the whole incident, and nobody talked to us. Actually, the security came out and was like watching us the whole time. It was crazy.
If they
you know,
knew if they knew that the article was false, any good journalist would rescind what they had said instead of making these false accusations to make more viewer content and likes or whatever, or more. You know what I mean?
yeah. And you know, I know the two cases aren't linked, but they are, in a way they are, because they're so similar. And that's Lieutenant Jose Mendoza. And the reason it's important when it comes to John's case is because the coroner, which is part of the sheriff department, Fresno County Sheriff Department, the
Jose
coroner
Morales.
loses a lot of credibility. Or Morales, that's it, yeah. The sheriff department loses a lot of credibility on that because on him, a key factor in that investigation was the time of death. And they didn't even do a liver temperature on him. That's how they determine time of death. Even a John Doe gets a liver temperature taken. Why didn't they?
That's a fair question.
Yeah.
Nobody I know has ever asked it.
And there's another question too, and that is the guy that found the lieutenant's body. He was a guy from L.A. He was out of town, and he happened on the body. That body was on a dead-end street. Why would a guy traveling back to L.A. be on that dead-end street there? That makes no sense. They never gave the name of the guy. They had a phone number on him, but the phone was disconnected like, what, a day or two later, something like that?
According to Yolanda, the widow, too, they had just had a falling out over some underage girls that at
Yes.
some party that they were that they were at.
Yes, and then they had not only had a falling out over that, but he had actually had his number two guy relieve the lieutenant of his duty, took his gun and badge that day, and the lieutenant went to his department appointed psychologist when he left the police station and talked to him and said he was going to Dyer's house to confront him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got home and he worked out in the garage with his son. And when he got finished working out, he told him he was going over there. And, you know, even the psychologist said he meant he was going to confront him physically.
Yeah.
And then there were witnesses that I guess they've retracted their story or something, but witnesses that said that they actually saw the chief with blood on him. Now, I don't know whether that happened or not, but it is troubling. And also the autopsy report doesn't say anything about a gash that he had over his eye, and several witnesses said that he did have a gash over his eye. So, you know, the autopsy loses a lot. The coroner loses a lot of credibility in the way that autopsy was done, which in turn makes me not trust the autopsy on John because you know, you hear first that he was stabbed in the back 2 times and in the chest once. And then you hear later, no, all of them were in the chest. And it was a suicide. When, you know, you find a guy burning to death in his house, I mean, most people don't stab themselves to kill themselves anyways. Then they don't set their house on fire.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's just a lot of really strange events. There was foul play involved. That I could say without any doubt. There was some foul play involved by somebody.
Was he ever suicidal anytime before in life? You know, as a child, a teenager. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
That's been a debatable topic, and actually nobody can really find anybody that and we did some pretty extensive searches to try and find people that John knew throughout his life, you know, throughout his family and friends, and nobody was willing to come forward and speak to anybody. Nobody wanted to be involved with the media over John Lang from his real immediate family at all. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's really difficult to say where he was on that at all from any standpoint.
But I could say this just by reading the stuff that he put together, that he was very functional. As far as his brain goes, he was very functional.
Yeah, and he posted a lot, and it wasn't I didn't find a bunch of depressed posts from the guy, but he did post things that were the same. So he before this happened, and then he died, right? So he posted, and then exactly what on the day he predicted his own death. He actually died, but it happened that he posted the same type of posts numerous times in the year before that. So there had been many times that he posted it, but nothing ever came of the post. Nothing ever happened to him. He just would keep
Right.
posting, and so we just figured he was kind of paranoid. And
Well,
most of us ignored that post that he made because we'd seen it happen before 3 or 4 different times in different groups and places that he would share it.
yeah, I'm glad I didn't even hear. I didn't know John's name until it happened, and when it happened, the day it happened, I heard about it. I didn't know that he was an anon. I didn't know that he even was an activist at the time. I just heard the guy was found in his house, stabbed, and his house was on fire, and such as that. And another thing that might be noteworthy, might not. That house was pretty well engulfed in flames when the fire department got there, but the fire department was just right there already, doing something right around the corner. And they
Really?
got flagged down and got over there. So they got over there really fast. If they had got over there in the normal amount of time, they would have found a charred body.
Not just that too, but the house the day after that, we showed up and the house had already been labeled condemned by the city, which was like on a Saturday. It was really strange. Usually it takes a couple of weeks for them to get out and start and actually handle things like that, like little tasks like that. But it was an immediate response at this one. It was really strange.
Yeah, and that the ones that were sitting there in that car that told you guys to be careful. It was weird, really weird the way he said to be careful, first of all. But there's a couple of John's videos that I can't say for positive, but it looks like that's the same cop. So, there are a lot of questionable things about this story, about this case. And, for that matter, the police themselves, with the police, it goes right up to the head. I mean, there's an old saying that a fish rots from the head, Well, this police chief, there's a lot of rumors about him. I've posted a newspaper, a Fresno Bee cover, that says right on there that the chief's accused of having relations with a 16-year-old girl. And he was brought home more than one time in the wee hours of the morning, drunk, by a young girl, a teenage girl. So, and that his lieutenant's wife has said that he actually came over to her house because he couldn't go home and explain.
I can confirm that. I was the one that conducted that interview.
Sounds like maybe a prostitute. I hate to say it, but
it's possible, but to me, anyways, by reading the story of it, and maybe you could say better, but it sounded like just a young girl that was kind of a fling of his, is what it sounded like.
I'm saying he was like a sugar daddy.
Kind of something like that, yeah.
Could have been, and it very much was probably very consensual, but it probably was young girls, and the guy is married, and the chief of police, and that's a pretty big scandal, right there.
Yeah, it is, and then too, you have this, and I put a clip of it in the hangout room earlier. One TV show that the guy said that this guy, I guess, been around for years and knew him when he was younger, and wasn't even a police officer. He was a civilian liaison or some such as that. anyway, said that they would pick up young girls like that. Then he was in his mid-20s, and they would pick up young 15-year-old girls and take them out and just, in his words, have their way with them, and then set them free out on the streets. There's no proof of that, but the guy's pretty convincing when he says it, and so, and seeing some of the other actions and everything. I mean, Dyer, he can be pretty convincing. He pretty good. I don't know if you want to use the word actor, but when he gets up there and does a press conference or whatever, he's pretty convincing, and the things he says is. But at times you can hear a little hint in there of something just not right, and I've seen that I've watched a lot of his press conferences, and you see that in more than one of them. The one about Dylan Noble, when he's talking about how the one cop went too far, and he talked about, first of all, that the law doesn't require them to use the least lethal means of subduing somebody. It doesn't require that. And then he puts it, but as a chief, I insist on better from my men. Like he's patting himself on the back or something, and then it's not a good time to be patting yourself on the back.
Yeah.
You're talking about a 19-year-old kid that didn't have any record, that they had the wrong guy, and he was unarmed, and they killed him. And they killed him because he kept reaching to where he had two gut wounds, and they kept saying he was reaching for his waist area. Well, he had 2 bullet holes in his waist area. Those were involuntary movements, and they should have recognized that. Especially the last shot. Even he said so. Even the chief said so. The last shot, there were 14 seconds pause in there, and they should have realized they should have found some other way. There was 4 of them, and they were right on him at that point. One of them had a shotgun, and one of the officers could have gone in and subdued his arms or handcuffed him, and instead of firing that last shot, which nobody can say for sure if he'd have lived or it wouldn't have lived. But way less likely after he got shot with that 12 gauge shotgun with 8 big pellets in it. That messed him up pretty bad. He wasn't going to survive after that. The other gunshot, especially the first 2, he probably would have survived. They were in the lower abdomen. They're really painful, I'm sure. He probably would have survived those. It just, that kind of wound, depends on what it struck inside of you, whether or not you'll live. But it's certainly a survivable wound. That last shot should not have happened, and he even said that. But then the officer was not charged. I'm not looking to charge all our cops. I'm not looking for all our cops to get out there on the street and get themselves killed being a cowboy or nothing like that. There's times when they have to shoot someone when they, when the person's presenting a danger to them. But then there comes a point also when a guy is shot 4 times like that, and time in between the shots, there comes a point when the threat becomes quite a bit diminished. And in that case, the third shot, the threat was diminished definitely, and the 4th shot, I really don't think he was a threat any longer. And never during that confrontation, never did those cops see a gun, and he didn't have one.
Jesus.
And that's a really rough case for me. That a really rough one, because a 19-year-old kid. The thing about John was terrible. The thing about the lieutenant dying, that was terrible. Even the guy with a lesser mental capacity that was shot 8 times, 7 times, something like that.
They said he had a sprinkler handle or something from my memory.
Yeah,
in his hand.
he had,
and which didn't make any sense because he was sitting on the porch, but the sprinkler hose I think wasn't even on that side. So what was a mentally handicapped person, or I think they said he was autistic or some shit. What was he doing with the sprinkler hose? It didn't happen. They made it up.
Yeah, and Dyer. There's one video of Dyer showing it on the screen with a pointer and everything, and showing it kept stopping it and showing, see, there's coming out of his pocket, and it looks like a gun to me. To be honest with you, I couldn't tell what, if anything, he pulled out of his pocket. He could have pulled out his wallet. He could have pulled out a number of things. But, you know, and again, you could see maybe a shot being fired at the guy when he's got his hand concealed and comes out like that. But for God's sake, shooting him 7 times like that, or I believe it was 7 that hit him. And I mean, these guys just emptied their guns, 2 of them. And you know, you don't need to do that, go that far, unless you see a gun and the guy just keeps trying. You know, keeps trying to shoot at you.
Well, you know, like I've said for a while, and a lot of people are kind of opposed to this, but you know, I really believe in disarming your average Joe Schmo police officer and do it like they do in other countries, and only special weapons and tactics can be handling lethal ammunition. You know,
I have to agree with you on that. Or
because
at least keep them locked in the trunk.
Yeah, well, I just don't think the average Joe Schmo cop is capable of handling a firearm.
Well, and in this case, in the case of Dylan Noble, you know, training was definitely an issue.
Yeah.
And we have that problem all over this country in these, you know, state police forces that are turned into a militarized force, and which in itself is a violation of posse comitatus. But, you know, why do they need to do that? I remember the Andy Griffith show, him and Barney Fife, and Barney kept one bullet in his shirt pocket, you know, and Andy Griffith didn't carry a gun. And I mean, that's really not that exaggerated, that show. You know, back then cops were way different than they are now. Now, you know, they come up to you in all this riot gear and everything else. And for instance, we're out there having our 5th of November march, and these guys show up. Who does it look like is there for a fight?
That's true.
It's certainly not us, you know. And they come out with these shields and batons and everything else, and blocking the road, and then walking out and pushing people. You know, who's there for? Who's dressed up for the fight? Because we're not there to fight, you know. So, you know, there's a problem with the police departments all over this country. There's no denying that. On my Crooked Cops page, I have a meme that I use for the banner. That it shows a bowl of M&Ms, and it says, "You say," and this is really something you've got to think about. It says, "You say that not all cops are bad. Here's a bowl of M&Ms. Half of them are poison. Go ahead, have an M&M."
Yeah, I think I saw that post actually.
You know, now even if there's only one poison M&M in that bowl, and there's a couple of hundred M&Ms there, I'm not going to eat any, even if there's only one. One bad cop is too many. And I mean, it's getting for. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Oh, you're fine. I was saying somebody had too many disco biscuits.
But you know, I mean, we do have a problem with our police forces. We have good cops. I know that. But a lot of times when they speak up about a problem, they lose their jobs.
Hey, so someone in the comments says his house was put on fire by the police as well. The Clearwater, Florida police. Nerman, if you have details, please message the page about this.
Yeah.
You can message the page. Maybe we can do something with it.
With regards to the John Lang house?
No, this was in his area, I believe.
Oh.
Is that what he's talking about?
I think so. Yeah. I think somebody in the comments was talking.
What was the comment? With what house was the comments in reference to?
No, this person says his house was set on fire on 2 May 2011, and he could not prove it.
What house was the comments in reference to?
It doesn't say which house, but he says his house was set on fire on 2 May 2011, and he couldn't prove it. He said it was staged by the Clearwater, Florida police. Special Ops Office of Special Affairs, Red Flag. So please message the page if you have any more details, please.
Interesting.
There's a guy named George. I don't remember the guy's last name, but we suspect that he was killed by police too, because he was actually suing the police department in his area for wrongful arrest. I wish I could remember the guy's name.
You know, there's a lot of that goes on. People are arrested for something they didn't do. You know, if you go into a jailhouse, everybody in there didn't do it. They didn't commit the crime. Well, of course, some of them did, but
Yeah.
the fact is, there are a lot of them in there that in fact did not commit the crime they're accused of and being punished for.
I know. I've
That
had
does
cases
happen.
built. I've had cases built around me that were built on fabrications of he said, she said, and I actually did some hard time on it. You know.
Yeah, it does happen, and happens more than people think. It really does. And I mean, you know, what do you do about something like that when that becomes a commonplace event in society? Where, you know, there's been several cases that have made precedent throughout the country where people were being arrested and it was a false arrest. And Supreme Courts in both states and in the United States Supreme Court, there's been rulings that if you're not guilty, you're being if it's a false arrest, that's an assault, and you have a right to defend yourself, to try to get away, or to defend yourself up to and including killing the officer that's trying to do it.
Mhm.
Well, you know, I'm not advocating anybody does that. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not at all advocating that. But you know, it's a biblical principle even that a person has a right to self-defense. And you know, I've said that for years about these no-knock raids that the cops do. If they want to do those, I suppose we can't stop them, but it changes the dynamics of the situation when they go into that house. You know, if a guy's sitting there watching TV and got a gun sitting next to him and he doesn't know who's coming in that door, if he turns around and shoots one of them cops, they pretty much took that risk themselves by not announcing themselves when they came in. You know, no-knock raids are dangerous, very dangerous. They should be used very, very rarely. You know, it has to really be justified to do something like that. And you know, then you're way more likely to have shooting happen during the raid by both sides, which means innocent people in the house are more likely to get killed. And you know, they're not only taking a risk for their own life, but other people's lives, and for them being sued for coming in there the way they have. So, and they've even done it to houses and had the wrong house. So, you know, we got a real training problem with our cops. That's for sure. We got a real training
I'd
problem.
like to add to that. So I've been doing a lot of reporting lately on police misconduct, as it were, and I'm at the point where I think it's time to have a major nationwide protest, armed protest, where there's multitudes of people showing up to their local police department demanding that they unarm their police officers
Yeah, for sure.
until they figure out how to not kill people, like at like a 3 a day basis in this country.
You guys,
That'd be something I'd be interested in participating in.
did you
Just
guys?
throwing that out there.
you-
By the way, I'm James Job. I'm gonna have to log off here by about 8 o'clock, so I'm
James,
gonna end on that note.
I'm gonna add you to the Crooked Cops page, if you don't mind.
No problem.
And check out killedbypolice.net too, or .org. I don't remember.
Already written multiple reports based off of that place and donate to them.
Oh, good deal.
Yeah, there was even that shooting. I think it was in Utah where a guy had a BB gun and he was killed with an M4 from police. The police officer said, "I'm going to kill you." Guy's crawling over to the police officer on his hands and legs, and the cop shoots him like 8 times.
Yep.
I'm trying to fill the void where the media is concerned with regard to. So a lot of people have been missing Cop Block. I know a lot of people that have been missing that because I miss it myself. I miss a lot of the journalists that were involved with it. And I'm trying to fill that void at the PontiacTribune.com. So If you have stories that you want to submit, if you have that you want to see there, if you want to write for that, if you are interested in that in any way whatsoever and want to help with that, I need as much help as possible.
Well, I want to say thank you for what you do, James, because it's we need more of that. We need to
Yeah,
counter
we
this problem,
just try to do what we can, right?
Yeah.
right? That's all we can do. So, and,
Did they do something to Cop Block? Did they shut it down?
It was sold.
John,
Hey, is there anything we should say to these
oh,
Fresno guys because they're watching us? Like,
Say that again.
Huh?
Ask your question again, John.
John.
we we just lost the one major share account sharing our show. We is there anything you want to say to the Fresno Cop because they're watching us? We just lost like one big share account already.
Oh, do I want to say something to the Fresno police?
We were sharing to the pages and the account just went down.
Oh, wow. So yeah, thank you Fresno PD for using your Beware technology on us.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Also,
sure they're
we're
watching right now. So.
yeah. I thought it did. To Chief Dyer, I thought it didn't watch social media. I thought that was disabled. That's what you
Yeah, I
said.
have something I want to say to the Fresno PD. We're watching you.
2 words, 1 finger.
Yeah, you're not the only ones who watch.
Peace.
You're not the only ones.
Peace.
Yeah.
See you later.
If they only knew
No,
it
I'm
was
not.
really out here in technology today.
Did he just drop out now?
Yeah, he had to
Yeah,
go.
he said he had to go.
I'm also getting a report from Angel. They disabled me. They are blocking and disabled most. I have seen that since we started the stream that people are not able to share this post to
Yeah, I
groups.
don't doubt it.
We unfortunately this page, if you are listening, we have fallen into this category of shadow banning, and it's not. It's obvious to me. It's obvious to the admins. It's obvious to the people who run the page that we have been blocked, and it's mainly due to the content that we put out. I mean, you do an activism, you're doing hacktivism, yes, but we will continue to do this, and until we are no longer on this. We've already run into an issue with YouTube, but things like this are going to just get worse on social media. And if you listen,
They are.
I did post. If you guys are on our Discord channel, you guys can get on it anytime. I did post a Mark Zuckerberg on his quarterly report. There was a phone interview for investors, and it's very, if you listen to what Zuckerberg is talking about on the infiltration and all the fucking security shit that he was doing. Yes, Facebook is actively targeting activists. You can obviously
Yes, they
tell
are.
from the quarterly
They are.
report. Go ahead.
They choked TruthSec. We were skyrocketing. I mean, we went from about 20,000 a week views to 142,000 a week in like 10 days time. And all of a sudden they started suspending accounts. Mine was suspended. Everybody on the page got suspended at one point or another. They unpublished the page. We're down to about 4,000 or 5,000 now. We're working our butts off. We got 20 something people on that page that are all good people, and we can't get it up there. You fight and fight and fight to get a few people to like the page, and they strip them off the next day.
Yep.
Yeah, mainstream media said this morning 700,000 people in the U.S. are no longer using Facebook. Maybe it's because they're banning them.
That could be it. And you know what? They're going to cut. If they're not careful, they're going to cut their own feet out from under them. They're going to cut themselves off at the knees. So,
You know what's kind of funny is that I think one of the major investors into Facebook was that I believe they were in the comments section of the phone call with Mark Zuckerberg was Wells Fargo Securities. Wasn't Wells Fargo like? Didn't they just? You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Like Facebook is favoring special interests in what they're trying to do at the same time, and they're trying to move away from all of the stuff that they've been fighting or whatever the fuck they think that they're doing. They think that they're trying to move all the news and the activism on there and making it a completely just like social network. Like I'm worried about who Bobby's fucking or whatever fucking doing is fucking partying over there, and at the same time you're just shooting yourself in the foot because the content creators have come in to Facebook. So with the news outlets, and it's part of the mission statement of Facebook was to interconnect people, to let the people, or something about letting the individual have a voice. Now,
Right. And
if go ahead.
you know, when we started TruthSec, you were talking about the news outfits and stuff. Back when fake news was becoming a buzzword, you know, everything's fake news. Everything's fake news. It was being shot back and forth from both sides, and that's how we kind of made a niche for ourselves with TruthSec is no fake news. No fake news here. We kept saying it. We kept putting it in our posts. We kept putting it in our memes and stuff, and people liked it, and people were gravitating to it because they want news. People want to know what's going on,
Yeah.
and they want the truth. They want it, and they like that name. TruthSec was, I think, it's a pretty good name, and you know, it was working really well. But these guys, they think they can just cut it all off like that. And Facebook, in the first place, I posted something on it about a month ago. Facebook is not what it appears. Zuckerfeller is not really the brainchild and everything that they made him out to be. He, for one thing, the business model was it's a stolen patent is what it is. There's a guy, and I forget his name, that patented that idea, and somebody stole the idea, and it wasn't Zuckerberg that stole the idea. It was someone else, some corporation that stole it. But then these guys, and we're talking about the elite, the globalists that did this and set it up. Come on, it took $500 million to set Facebook up. A student at Stanford University doesn't have that kind of money. So where did he get it?
Yeah,
You know,
I've heard, I have heard I have heard that argument before. That he does come from special interest groups.
well, they're saying his grandpa was David Rockefeller. You know, that's why I call him Rockefeller. And you know, I believe that it's very possible that it was his grandfather. I really do. But regardless of whether it is or it isn't, I mean, he took a sabbatical here, a year ago, a little over a year ago, and come back talking about the New World Order and how he was going to this and that. And yet, you know, he's definitely a globalist. There's no question about it. So, but you know, there are other powers behind it too. And I mean, a lot of people call it FedBook, and I think that's pretty accurate and pretty apt name because they're doing the work for the alphabet agencies and the intelligence agencies, you know, and it may even be the intelligence agencies actually in there doing it. Who knows?
Yeah, they've recently gotten into trouble. I believe in Austria was legally allowed. I think along with Ireland, we're allowed to build up a legal lawsuit against um, uh, Facebook and concerning the terms of service that they're offering that they're not disclosing to the average Joe Schmo user.
And I know of one lawsuit that's going on. In fact, he tried to get me to join his lawsuit as a class action suit, but he's got a lawsuit against him for basically denying him his First Amendment rights. And that's what they're doing that to all of us. You know, the First Amendment's pretty much dead on Facebook.
Yeah, it doesn't. Their argument is that it's when you get a Facebook account, you are agreeing it's not your. Even though you make it, you make the pictures, you make the content. It is not yours. It is property of Facebook, and it is subject to their terms of service or whatever you didn't look at when you signed up all your shit in little tiny fine print. But in actuality, you had created that content, so that's kind of like where a lot of these arguments are also coming from about whether it's legal what they're doing. Now I know we have a person that used to be with this show. Um, he lost a page that had 145,000 likes, and he had invested a lot of money into this page, and Facebook took it away, saying that his Facebook page was unpublished due to violating the terms of service, but that still doesn't make up for the financial loss that he has made. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I mean, there's in what we do, there can be money in it. I mean, there really can. Uh, I don't do it for that. The reason I left Facebook a couple years back, I left Facebook and went to that Sue network, the one that paid you to post. I didn't go there because of the money. They had verified charities, and every dime I ever made there, I gave to the charities. I didn't go there for that. I went there because you owned your content.
yeah,
It's yours. That's why I went there. That's why I left Facebook. When they shut it down, there really was nowhere big enough to go to do it. I pretty much had to come back to Facebook or just not have make an impact.
yeah. With this
So I did.
with the shadow banning, basically what they're doing to us is that they're making us a very tiny voice, and we're shouting, and maybe one or two people are actually seeing what we're doing.
Yeah, the truth is a new hate speech. I mean, that's the way we're treated. Like we're committing some kind of a hate crime. We're not. We're telling the truth. If you don't want to hear it, then change it. You know,
They forgot
that's
you
that's
can't
what that's
bury a
what activists
seed.
try to do. Yeah, I mean that's what activists try to do is try to affect change. Try to make the world a better place. I believe a better world's possible, and I guess I'm an optimist, and I don't want to stop being one. But I have been, pretty disappointed in some of the things that I've seen. And for instance, right now, I run like 27 pages, and I can't do the invites for people to like the page. I can't do them. It'll let me do a few, and then it cuts it off again.
Well, yeah, yeah. Basically, and I'm just going to explain this to our viewers how the algorithm works. Um, if you don't mind,
Yeah,
So basically, what they're doing, and lately is they monitor your behavior, right? And then once your behavior fits a certain profile, they will assign a digital value to your profile, and then anything. And once you have this digital value assigned to your profile, it falls into this category of so nobody will be able to see your content, almost making it impossible for somebody to see what you're actually doing unless they're physically going to your page, and sometimes they're not even able to see even if you're posting it.
yeah. See, at one time when you posted something, people who were on your friends list all saw it.
Yeah,
Other people might not, but the people on your friends list saw it. Now they don't.
yeah,
Some do, some don't.
yeah,
It's, I mean, we're not doing anything wrong. I was raised by good people that taught me right from wrong, and I'm not doing anything wrong. And I have to worry about what the government's thinking of what I'm doing, or worry about the cops coming after me, or this or that. And I'm not doing anything illegal.
yeah. Not in the eyes of Facebook, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, we broke the Facebook laws. Yeah, the almighty Zuckerberg. But we just keep on trying because I mean I don't know what else to do. Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, but what's legal now doesn't have to be legal like in the near future too. Like, and
Oh man, I've heard that before. That was like deja vu when you said that. Yeah, it was like when we started the Nameless Collective. We had our first meeting, and everybody wanted all this security.
Hmm.
And I said, we don't need security. We're not. What are we doing? We're not doing anything illegal. What do we need all this security for? And this one lady told me, she says, I'll tell you why we need it. What's legal right now, 6 months, very well may not be legal.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Then they'll bring out those
I
RICO
couldn't
laws
argue
on
with.
you.
Yeah, I couldn't argue with that. I mean,
yeah,
the
no,
way we've
exactly.
seen things change.
Exactly.
But you know what? We've been waking people up the whole time, though. They haven't stopped us from that. I mean, go back 2 years and how many people were asleep. It's kind of hard to find people that are asleep now. And if they seem asleep and they're in there on the post arguing with you, I mean, the chances are they're a paid troll because there's a ton of those.
Yes, we have run into that. We can even point that to examples of last week's show. We were help with Frontline Coalition on coal, and there were paid trolls that were trashing some of um, our videos that were happened to deal with the Adani mine with the Adani mine, and the people, the profiles that were coming up were also from the air. You know what I mean? It just these weren't people that normally visit our page, nor would they have any reason to unless you know what I mean. They would have had a dug to find the
Yeah.
content, so they were paid. If not,
Well,
if they weren't paid, they were real.
yeah, they're definitely,
Yeah.
yeah. And I did a lot of research on it because I did a series of posts on paid trolls. There's a lot more out there than people have any. I mean, you just have no idea how many there are out there. They said one person asked, well, "Who can afford to pay trolls in this kind of an economy?" Well, I'll tell you who: these big giant corporations.
Well, actually, they don't.
The
They don't even need to pay people anymore. There's been people on our show that have talked about systems that have been. Well, what was
Yeah,
that?
running bots and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
I heard a video coming out of something that shouldn't have come out, or audio. That was kind of creepy.
Nah,
Yeah.
Whoops.
you got a ghost.
No, yeah, it was on my other device. I was like, wait, audio shouldn't be coming out of that thing.
But we need a devil to come back making some ham and cheese sandwiches. He's still got the flu and pneumonia.
Oh man. How do I get one of them sandwiches over here?
Oh yeah, we were told. Yeah, that comes from another show. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, we had a troll come on our show talk about fucking sandwiches at the weirdest time.
Yeah, seemed to be having an argument with herself.
Yeah, he was having an argument with ourselves. Yeah, in the back end, yeah. So nobody's been able to share it to our groups. Yeah, this page has been. We are being heavily censored. You know what's funny is that we didn't have a show live for, I think it was a week, and we managed to get 20,000 user engagements. And today it's back to square one. So you know what I mean. If Facebook wanted to make the shadow banning fair, they should explain to the end user their algorithms. You know what I mean? Not like in a hackable sense,
Exactly.
but in a legal sense, like to the point where content creators and at least like, should we even classify this as content? I guess we could. So that we understand what the fuck we need to be doing to beat to not fall into this category. I mean, in the end, we are the people that are keeping the people on your platform. Now there will always be those people that are posting their lives and whatever and are interested completely whatever. But there are a lot of
Pictures of their
users that
cat and
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
there are a lot of users. I would say about 60 to 60% of users are not on Facebook just looking at what other people are fucking doing. They're using Facebook as a periscope or all-in-one platform where I get my news. I could I could look at dolphins. I could look at this. You know what I mean?
And there's a pretty good percentage of them that are using it as their soapbox and getting out there like what we do. You know, the truthers or activists or whatever you want to call it. And it's a very powerful tool to get a message out.
It was, and there are a few organizations I know that have threatened Facebook, and they haven't posted anything about this, but I'll let it list viewers know. They might cut me off for talking about this, but you might have heard that Zuckerberg was interested in applying blockchain technology into Facebook. Now, I don't know if you guys or any of our viewers know about a cryptocurrency by a guy named for Jason from the Tron Foundation, who is trying to build a fully decentralized social media platform affiliated with his built on blockchain technology.
I've heard of that.
Yes, and
Yeah.
what he's trying to do is not only the cryptocurrency thing, which is the Tron coin, but he's also working on this. They have programmers from China, specifically some of the programmers from Alibaba are on this shit, and it's a direct threat to Facebook. So we might see a better platform come out very soon. Now, are there some out there that are more popular than Facebook in certain parts of the world? Yes, like VK, UpLive. But I do see most of these other social media platforms coming to the U.S. very soon. Facebook used to have a following. I think it was like 5 billion, and now they're down to 2.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I saw a meme that said that it was Mark Zuckerberg meme, and it said that I thought I had like 4 billion users, and then I found out a bunch of you fuckers have 5 accounts. So yeah, maybe not quite as many as you thought, but I thought that was pretty funny. Uh, but they when we first started getting posts pulled down and stuff like that on TruthTech, and one of the guys on there, he's been on a long time, way longer than I have,
mhm.
and he was kind of upset about it one day, and it pissed me off because he's a really good guy and a really hardworking guy, and he was so upset about it, and that kind of pissed me off too because he's a good friend, and so I decided I was going to do something about it, and I made this big meme, and I went and put it on my wall because I didn't want to get the page shut down because it's not just my page. Several of us designed it and worked our butt off to build it up, so I didn't want to get it shut down. So I put it on my wall, and it was spelled with PH instead of F, both words. It said, "Fuck Facebook censorship." I mean, as ugliest, most putrid, clashing colors you ever saw in your life, but it got attention.
Yeah.
And I put that out there, and that thing got like 400 shares on my wall. And I didn't share it no place myself. I just put it up there and tagged a few people that I knew, and it started going every place. And so I started thinking about it, and thinking about the way to beat them is use the free market and just get them out of the way by being competition.
Yeah.
Well, somebody took my idea and ran with it, and they went and checked it out, and Facebook.com spelled with a PH available. But they want 100 grand for it. But something that might work. It just might work. I mean, it'd have to be run right and have the right people kick it off, but something like that might work. But no matter where you go, somebody would come around. If we did that, somebody would come around and give us $1 million for it, and we, like idiots, would probably take it.
And let them run
they
it.
do the
Yeah.
same thing that happened with Facebook.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who does it or what you do. These guys, I mean, You know, Alex Jones has a good name for his show. The guy's well, I don't want to say what he is because there might be kids listening, but he has a great
yeah,
name,
I'm mixed about
Infowars.
Alex as well. Like he does put some good shit out there, but then there's a lot of times where he's just out
The
there,
shill. Yeah,
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 out there in left field, like
and,
chasing butterflies. You know,
Shilling.
yeah. And, you know, I agree with you. But he has a great name for his show because that's what it's all about. It's a war for information. Everybody wants their version of the truth out there, and the elites and the globalists and the big bankers and international banksters and all that, they have the power to suppress ours, and that's what they're doing. So,
yeah, that is definitely what's happening, and we can't rely on the big media news outlets to tell the truth. Or only tell half truth stories or whatever they're doing. They're not doing real good journalism. They're telling one sided stories with minimal information. You know.
well, and they're even doing worse than that. I mean, you had 9/11, and these guys just perpetrated a huge lie on the on the whole world. You know, they sit there and they gave the narrative like it was supposed to be, and I fell for it. You know, when it happened, I fell for it. I thought those guys they call them say that it's an inside job. Come on, you guys are crazy. You know, but it wasn't very long that I started seeing enough things that I couldn't keep saying you guys are crazy. I started saying you guys are right,
Well, yeah,
and sure enough they were. And
yeah. I mean, even I kind of believed, what the fuck was being said from 9/11, but the more the voice came out, that over the years that there was, that it was an inside job. That's what it was,
yeah, it was, and it. That's the thing. And it wasn't just that we allowed it. I mean, certain things like nanothermite, you can only get that from the United States military.
Oh yeah, it wasn't even.
So
Yeah, it wasn't even like, the dust particles had created. It was a military grade thermite that had an additive to it. That's what
right,
they were
and
fighting in the
so
dust. The dust particles. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean they had months later they could still see molten steel from space. Okay, jet fuel can't do that. It can't
The
even melt
pan.
it to
Yeah,
begin
yeah.
with.
The pancake theory doesn't line up. Jet fuel doesn't burn down rotting iron. It has to have an accelerant. It didn't
Well,
structurally.
and
It didn't. Yeah. It felt.
there's one video that I got
Okay.
that I posted actually today on a post. I got a cartoon character shape where Wile E. Coyote,
Mhm.
a shape of him going through the World Trade Center,
Yeah.
and it says that's what did it. Cartoon characters, they burn hot enough to melt steel, you know, and
Well, yeah.
it's kind of it's a satire type of a post, but it makes a statement, and I had to post on there because I was getting such an argument from this guy who's telling me that it collapsed because the structure was damaged and the jet fuel melted the steel. No, it didn't. That didn't. I may not be able to tell you exactly what happened, but I can tell you what didn't happen. And what they say happened didn't happen.
Yeah, the physics. The
It's not
physics doesn't.
possible.
Yeah, the physics. I think we posted that video before. They took it down off of our page, but like the physics and the math involved on how on the free fall doesn't add up, because
Well, it doesn't.
if the structures didn't collapse on themselves,
There had to be
it flew
resistance
at
if they
free. It
did.
didn't have any resistance. It actually flew at free fall speed. I think it took, was it four and
Which
a half
means,
seconds or
which
something?
means,
Which means
right. The
it blew.
floors below it had to be got out of the way before it got there, or it
Yeah.
couldn't have fallen at that speed.
Yeah. They said that almost every floor would have had to have detonated explosive for it to fall like that.
Well, I have a picture. I have a picture of the guys who put the explosives in and the blasting the wireless caps that they used. I've got a picture of it. It was a Israeli art group, a bunch of art students supposedly, and they stayed in one of the rooms on the
The 190th
I
floor, or
forget,
whatever the fuck it was.
something like that. Yeah, 109th floor, something like that. And I mean these boxes, you could see the numbers on the boxes, and you can run the numbers, and they come back to a spinoff company of Halliburton, which is Dick Cheney owned. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you can follow the money, you really can, and I believe those guys set those charges off remotely. I believe the dancing Israelis were involved in it. I think that the what's that? What's the name of it? Can't think of it though. Something Labs. It's not far from there. Anyways, they use directed energy, and you know that one video of the big steel column just turning to dust.
Yeah.
That was done with directed energy. It had to have been. What else could have done it? I mean, I don't know of anything else that could have done that, but that I do know of could do it. And they had one there. And not only that, if you draw a straight line from there to the World Trade Center, it would get split on one corner and go down the two streets where the cars were all melted.
Well, you know, there was a court case that had led up to I think it was 1999, from where the whole Al Qaeda thing had come up with. It was made up by a guy who wanted political asylum, and I think that was the precursor before. You know, I think this was right after Bin Laden had bombed that embassy somewhere in Africa.
Oh,
And
you mean Tim?
yeah, something like that. And there was a
Tim
court
Osmond?
yeah, something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a court case that came up about this where this guy had built up the Al Qaeda network to be something that it wasn't, and the only thing the guy was trying to do was to try and get political asylum or some fucking money. Even the DA said that they thought he was lying, but lo and behold, you know, they were building up something in relation. So I mean, like, you know, there was do I think that they had enough time to plan and put all the charges in if they had 2 years to plan something like this? I think that this could have been pulled off, you know?
Yeah, it could have. I don't see how you can get enough people to do their job, but I guess there are that many evil people around. I suppose there are. But, I mean, it's like the chemtrail thing. You know, these pilots, they got to know they're killing their own family too, you know, but somehow they manage to get people that'll do it, you know? So I guess it's for that almighty fake dollar, you know?
Oh, speaking of which, I kind of wanted to, so like I did say I would talk about this in the latter part of the show. Um, so we talked about the groups and the elite, and you know the evil bankers, right? So
Yeah.
I guess if a lot of our viewers are not too up to what was going on in the cryptocurrency market in the last week or two, but so what we were seeing, this is that what the cryptocurrency crash was going around was there were in India there was a people were reporting that they were not able to do their wire transactions into markets, and this was a deterrent from people from the banks and the central banks in India to try and stop people from using cryptocurrency, and which was not even legal. And then up the days leading up, now they have declared that it's not legal to be using them in India. So you can kind of blame that that cryptocurrencies are a threat to the international banking cartels.
Right. And then the cartels are going to retaliate and try to fight back by creating their own and tying it to major things. And when they do that, it's not going to, you know, they're not going to hold up to it because, I mean, who's going to stand up to the Fed? They've been making counterfeit. They've been counterfeiting for hundreds of years. These guys, they know their business.
Oh yeah, printing up money out of nothing.
Yeah, you know that's what they do. And you know, it all started out way back with one of the Rothschilds, and he had the biggest vault in town. And so he started getting money from people to store their gold for him to keep it safe. Okay, and then these people, they bring him so much gold, and he'd give them these little receipts. Well, they'd start using those receipts. They'd scratch on there how much of it was theirs or whatever, you know. And that became the first fiat money. And it's the first fiat currency. And then he had such a demand of people coming and wanting to borrow money from him that he started printing these papers out that represented the gold. But if he had, say, $1 million in gold in there, he'd make $10 million worth of these notes. And that's where the word note came from, actually.
Yeah, Federal Reserve notes.
And,
yeah.
Right, and so that's how it all got started, and then it just turned into a station, and they got fancy ink and fancy paper and fancy little doodads in there, and then and that leads into another thing when you look at something like 9/11 and who was the mastermind behind it. Okay, it couldn't have been the president.
He was too
He's
stupid.
not powerful enough. Yeah, well, even the president, he's way down on the rung, or lower rung of the ladder, higher. Who could have done it was somebody who controlled the Federal Reserve, because all of it was predicted on the currency. Who had the power to do that and to get all these people put into action? You got somebody like, say, David Rockefeller and the Rothschilds and people like that. They have the power. That's who was behind it. That had to be, because it's such a complicated thing to pull off, and the money that was siphoned off of that operation was unbelievable. For instance, when the Soviet Union fell, George Bush and them guys, George Bush Sr., they sold a bunch of bonds and went over and they bought up all of the assets of the Soviets and sold them off for scrap, basically.
Yeah.
And they used this money. All those bonds were coming due, and they were going to have to settle them all up and report all of it. So 9/11 happened and destroyed it all. There was money being taken out of the financial firms in those buildings by the billions and billions and billions of dollars being siphoned off out of those things electronically while it was all happening. And there were people in there working their asses off out of there and somewhere else. Then there was all the gold inside of there that they were trying to steal. One of the trucks got stuck coming out of the basement, and they had to abandon the truck full of gold there, and they ended up finding that gold. So most of the gold disappeared. There was so much money, and the put options that were bought and sold, traded on that thing, the airlines that were involved and such as that. It's unbelievable the kind of money that was made off of it. I mean, and you saw the same thing in Vegas, and Soros had all them. I mean, a huge number of put options on the casinos, and call options on the gun companies and ammunition companies and stuff, and they made out like bandits. I mean, these false flags are becoming an art for some people,
Oh yeah, definitely. What happened in Vegas was was a lot more to. That was. We talked about this for like five shows or something like that.
There's a lot of aspects to that. A lot of them.
Yeah,
the Saudis and the royal family and all of that. Yeah.
We've almost we were following a guy that was on Alex Jones, and we put up his shit on there. But it's not the helicopter guy. It was he's a scientist, and he did forensic acoustic analysis, and definitely proved that there was at least a second shooter involved in that.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. He was going by the time.
The health ranger, the science health. Yeah, he owns his own like science lab, and he does GCMS on chemicals. Yeah.
The health ranger, the science health. Yeah, he owns his own like science lab. And with what was going on, I mean, a lot of people say that was nothing more than a coup. That they were trying to kill that Saudi prince that was in the top part. Where it's what is it? Four Seasons, I think it's called.
Possibly.
The top of that hotel, like the top 4 or 5 floors, is not the same hotel. It's a totally different whole, separately owned and operated and everything. Saudi princess was in there, and they were trying to kill him because his dad's going to relinquish the throne and make him king. And these other princes, they didn't want that, so they're after him. All of them guys are all getting killed off and jailed and everything else, and that played into it too. And it makes a lot of this stuff make sense, like the active shooters on the runways. Why would they?
Uh oh.
Uh,
Uh oh. You there?
here.
Hello?
Oh,
Oh shoot. I think we lost him. Can you talk?
Oh,
Some technical issue.
Yeah. I can't.
well then.
Tell him.
Sitting Bull.
Let me see if Sitting Bull
Am I
can.
here?
You here?
I'm here.
Oh yeah, you kind of like just disappeared.
Hey, well, you started about the cryptocurrency stuff. Yeah, a lot more stuff happened related to that, right? I mean, even in my country, they want to declare cryptocurrencies illegal now. Bitcoin.
Oh yeah.
I'll tell you something that would really, really open your eyes, and I'm going to do a shameful plug for a friend of mine.
They're trying to see like what's possible in law to declare it illegal. I think if it happens here, it will happen in the rest of Europe.
Yeah, I agree. It's gonna, there'll be shockwaves all around the world from, like you said, that India started saying, well, you guys can't do that. That'll send shockwaves around the world through the cryptocurrency market. They're gonna all take a tumble. It's all about confidence. How much confidence the investors have. That's what sets the price. So,
Essentially, what
but
we're.
anyway, what I was
Go ahead.
going to say about the shameful plug for my friend, there's a book that's really interesting. You might want to read it. It's called The Anatomy of Global Agenda, and it's a really, really well put together book that there's not any conspiracy theory in it at all. It's all fact, and it's put together in a way where a little kid barely old enough to read would understand it if he read through it. It's that well written, and it shows you just exactly what's going on. And the globalists they're making their move. They're trying to take everything over, and you got Agenda 21 going on at the same time because they want to get rid of all of us. They're going to have machines run everything, and a few people around to be their slaves or whatever you want to call them, and they're going to quit destroying the earth. The only thing is, the ironic part is they're the ones destroying the earth. Their corporations are the ones destroying the earth, not us.
Yeah.
So, it a lot of sense, but I guess I could understand when you put the factor of greed into the mix. The greed takes over, and they want it all. It explains why somebody like Rothschilds, who have all them trillions and trillions of dollars, why they would still want money. Because you and me, we couldn't spend $1 trillion in our lifetime.
Mm-mm.
If we went out and just went hard at it all day long, every day spending money, we couldn't spend it all. So why would you still want money? Because it's not about money; it's about power.
Mm-hmm.
And, simple as that. It's a little frightening to see what's going on, but it's also an exciting time to be alive too. It's. I mean, you're not going to get bored with all of it, with everything going on, because there's always something.
Just about every day, it seems.
Yeah. It's a little hard to keep up sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, especially not even that. It's almost comical. It's almost predictable what happens every day now.
Yeah. It's the only thing that changes is the names, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of names, there was, even when we're talking about, the YPG and shit like that, weren't they? They were the YPG, and then that shit that's going on in there in Turkey.
I'm not familiar with what's going on in Turkey at the moment.
Yeah, they're doing
Uh,
Operation Olive Leaf, and they're attacking the YPG. We armed the YPG and gave them directives to change their name. Now they're a terrorist organization, even though they were fighting ISIS. I don't personally understand all the shit that's really going on, but like the names
it's hard to
change.
understand it, but you can relate because they label us terrorists too. So I mean,
Yeah, and
you can relate to
I've
how
heard
they feel.
opposition, from the YPG that they're just defending their territory, and they're, who
I
knows?
can remember when terrorists were people that went around causing terror.
Oh yeah, with guys and machine guns and airplanes. Yeah,
Yeah,
the '80s, the
bombs and stuff.
'90s.
Yeah. Now, if you're telling the truth, you're a terrorist. It's not our
Well,
fault that the truth's so scary, is it?
the original definition was it had to be governments that were doing the tactic to terrorize. Now they've flipped
Right.
it to where the individual is a terrorist.
Hmm. Yep. And they charge guys like Edward Snowden with treason and such as that. Okay, he gave that information to the American people. So does that mean that we're the enemy now? You have to give aid and comfort to the enemy to be guilty of treason. So they must consider us the enemy.
Well, they consider
Getting
corporations and businesses too, but
Yep.
they're confused on that, I think.
I mean, I guess you're
Yeah.
okay. I guess in the eyes of them, as long as you're sitting and down and obeying and producing, right?
If you're a good slave, yeah, you're
Yeah.
fine. You know, that's like all these guys that they talk about Agenda 21, and they well, I'm going to be all right. They're going to keep me. Who would want to survive if all you're going to be is their slave? I don't even want to live in that world. So, you know what I mean? I mean, what kind of life is that? You're not living, that's for sure.
I
The
was
funny thing
reading
is,
some. Sorry,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was reading something the other day where the governments, the U.S. government and other governments wanted us to move in these mega cities. That would be more problems for pollution and feeding everyone as well, wouldn't it? I would think.
Probably, but you mean the smart cities? Is what they're talking about?
Yeah, I guess that's what they're called. Yeah, I know them as mega cities from what I've seen and read and just read
What I
comments.
what I've read about it is, I guess those are going to be like the new prison camps. It's like now how they make us feel like we're free. You know,
Hmm.
it feels like it's free, but we're really not. We really don't have freedom of speech and things like that. And these smart cities, I guess, are going to kind of tighten the noose a little bit and clamp down on us. And there's some logic in that, really. It will make it easier to control everybody. And I think that's what we're seeing with, you hear all these conspiracy theories, quote, of the directed energy weapons causing these fires and HAARP causing the hurricanes. And look at the Agenda 21 maps and see all of those activities fit the maps. They're clearing out real estate. They're clearing areas out and pushing people to the big cities, and so that's what's going on. They're trying to get everybody herded into these big cities and have wide open spaces where, like the Georgia Guidestone says, be not a cancer on the earth, and it even says it again.
They want to, yeah, but according to Georgia Guidestones, they want to lower the Earth's population to 500 million, and that's a lot less people than there are right now in the world. So do the math.
Yeah, that's like about 6.5 billion less, and to get rid of, and they want to do it by 2030. Now
They
you
better
figure it out
hurry.
yourself. Do the math. That's 12 years from now. They want to get rid of 6.5 billion people in 12 years. I'm pretty sure that's going to require genocide, mass genocide.
You
There's
know,
no other way to accomplish
no, we're going to come to your house and kill you with machine guns, but we're going to kill you in ways that you're not
it.
going to be
No, they're going to
expecting.
do it. Yeah, like
Yeah.
vaccinations and chemtrails and
Oh, garbage food,
and stuff like that. Yeah,
diabetes, heart
and
attacks.
we're
Why,
seeing all of those.
why is the American diet so fucking like? Why do they allow all these fucking like shitty ass fucking chemicals in American food that are banned in?
Just a virus or cancer.
Yeah,
Yeah, the two biggest
Yeah, and they
killers
want us
right
to eat
now is the
GMOs.
flu and opiates.
Yeah, yeah. You got designer diseases, and you got the GMOs. Monsanto's got emissions out in the crops with these hazard suits on, and they want me to eat that shit. You know, they won't even get in the field without a hazmat suit on, and they expect we're going to eat it.
yeah.
It kills the bees, but it's good for you.
Well, yeah, but kind of needed to be who Albert Einstein was it that said that kill the bees all off, and within a generation the people will be gone too. So, and they do a lot. I mean, a lot of the food we have, we wouldn't have if it wasn't for the bees pollinating things. So, but don't worry, they've got little mechanical bees that are going to take it over.
Oh yeah. I've heard of that. You know that they do have those mechanical bees coming in.
Oh,
Yeah, they do. I
shit.
mean, they got little drone bees that are going to pollinate shit.
That'll
They
be
killed all the bees with their Roundup, you know.
the.
Yeah, I need a fake bee. Real bees aren't good enough.
Funny, you go into the grocery store and you see these reading on the label. Is there any gluten in there? It's the round.
I think that it's funny that they're even making gluten a thing where celiac disease only affects like 1% of the population. You know,
Yeah,
and if you really have celiac disease or really concerned about eating gluten, then you probably shouldn't be drinking beer or vodka or any other fermented drink. you know.
yeah. I hear that medibles are okay for them though. So
The problem with that is that what they were put, they take the gluten out and then they put other stuff in there that's even worse. That's what they don't tell you.
Yeah, that's why I always
yeah,
thought there was some conspiracy behind the thing. Either it was an overhyped medical condition, or there really is some agenda where they're making things non gluten free, where it really isn't as big a deal as people think that they make it. And any doctor, any legitimate good doctor, will tell you that it's not really a big deal.
yeah. They've designed a new way to kill you, and they're trying to steer people to it.
Pretty
And
much.
you know, I mean, there's so much of that kind of thing going on. It's like we're morons or something. You know, I mean, you see these big crisscrosses in the sky like a tic-tac-toe board. And you know, when I was a kid, they didn't have none of those. That's not normal. You know, and people look at it, and, oh, look at the pretty sunset. You know, and it's not really that pretty.
Yeah.
You know, the clouds are turning pink because of the aluminum particles and crap like that. So that's why it's turning pink. So you
A
know,
lot of people, that will say that even climate change is not a thing. Right now, as we speak, yeah, we have. I think there was there's a hole up in the Arctic Circle about the size of Maine that's fallen into the ocean. Greenland's ice caps Greenland's glaciers are melting, and I don't know if we covered this, but this might be on an upcoming show. Down in South Africa, Cape Town is out of they will be out of water. I think April 14th. Their water
wow.
reserves are completely out, and I believe there's like almost 1.2 million people living in that part of South Africa.
Mm, that's bad. That is
Yeah,
bad.
that's pretty bad.
Well, like when Detroit went without water, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Flint.
Flint, Michigan. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, their problem was though is
Yeah,
they screwed up
yeah.
and poisoned the water. I think.
Yeah, a bunch of copper.
And, I don't know if what happened in Flint will ever be solved by if the locals just
Well, what we need to establish is the human relation with global warming. Like how much.
I'm not sure that we're doing it though. I'm not sure the global warming thing
We got like a major lag.
Oh yeah, we do.
is I mean, the like
Well, it's bound to have some
other
effect, but
planets and
I'm the
everything.
same way. I don't.
Right. I mean, yeah, it does. I'm sure it does have some effect. But you wouldn't see the same phenomenon on Mars and Mercury and stuff like that if it were all whatever, or burning coal or what, if that were what the cause of it was, it wouldn't be happening on these other planets. So there has to be another reason. I think we're fixing to have to move to another planet, probably what it is. Not in our lifetime maybe, but I think like I said, this place is going to become like Mars did.
Yeah, as far as global warming and the companies out there that are trying to fight it, I do see some resistance, even to using alternative technologies.
Well, I mean, I can see some of the alternatives like those to fossil fuels. That just makes sense. I mean, we are that stuff in, and it'll kill us too. So, whether it's causing the global warming or not, there are reasons for the fossil fuel. But it's you got to figure out what on all of it, and some of these things are ridiculous, and some of them are made just as like fear porn. Like 2K, remember that? It, you know, it, I remember on New Year's Day, we set there our computers over in Fiji because that's the first day it was going to turn midnight. You sit down. And all the software on their computers and everything to make sure that they were Y2K safe. And nothing would happen.
Oh, Sitting Bull, you're like breaking. You're coming in and out in waves. You there?
Yeah, he's breaking
I
up.
am.
Yeah, now you're okay. You there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
But I know. It might be a head that probably get close to dead.
Uh, yeah, it might just be a data lag.
There's some major lagging going on
Yeah, I
tonight.
noticed.
Yeah. Well, that means we're doing a good show. Or they leave us alone and let us have a good. So we were
When
talking
you
earlier about them doing different things and shutting this down and that down. We were trying to get that lieutenant that was killed. We were trying to get his niece to come on, and I left messages for her, went through all kinds of crap to get the phone number. Someone called her, and everything. And I went over to that group post there a lot of times, and went over to that his death and whatnot and all the weird things that happened, and the link broke. Put the site down. You know, I wonder what they're wanting to get attention on it, and they're not getting any attention.
Yeah.
So I would have thought that would have been welcome news that we wanted them to come on and talk about it. But I couldn't get a response from them at all, and I'm not sure why.
I'm sorry.
It was real weird.
I only got like half of what you said for the last minute. I'm sorry.
Are you moving around
It probably wasn't worth listening to. I don't know, but it was really weird with that link being broke. Because the code was on that. This has been until time. But that's the kind of stuff they do, if we start getting a little bit too close to the truth, they a little bit. What I call throttle. You're getting through to too many people. They cut in half how many people you can get through. That's all that. So
I don't know. Sometimes I think it's keywords. You say certain topics or certain keywords, and
Googlebot sends you off.
yeah, they do a little bandwidth trick on you.
Yeah.
Little filtering.
That Truth Tech a lot was we shared when we post something, we'd share it to quite a few groups ourselves. And of course, you get other shares from there and everything, but we'd share it to quite a few groups, and they started suspending accounts for that. To more than about 10 or 12 groups, you're going to get your account shut down for 10 days. And so now we can't share to all them groups and getting way less views. I mean, I had one post that had 72,000 views in just a few days.
Yeah.
But I could share wherever I wanted to.
Yeah, those days are over. You know what I mean?
They are, I know. And, well, not necessarily, though. We probably shouldn't talk about it on the air, but I know a way to bring them back. That'll work.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm all ears at this point because, if the algorithm's working the way that I think it's working, it's SOL unless you could be using predictive behavior. Like the way that I understand to beat the algorithm would be to not post about anything about activism and do like one post a week. That's the only way I see around it. For them to assigning that fucking digital value to get you shadow banned and all that shit.
Yeah, to fix the numbers, to get the numbers right, you know exactly. But for instance, I know you can get away with sharing one post to 5 groups. You can get away with that. It won't be a problem. You share it to 100, you're not even going to get to 100 now. 200 groups if you want it, but you can't even get it to 100 now. So you'll be shut down before you get there. And so, but there's a way to get it in 100 groups.
Yeah.
That I don't think would trigger it. So, and yeah, we'll talk about it because I think it would work.
I mean, yeah, I've even known content creators to like go to Steam it. I didn't even know there was really that big of a community on Steam it.
Well, this is kind of worse than it was then, but kind of what caused the big flood to go over to that Sioux network. It was spelled TSU, but the T was silent. It was Sioux. And it wasn't just that they were paying you. I mean, you didn't make that much money. I'd probably make maybe $100 in a month. But I mean, it's something you're going to do anyhow, right?
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I didn't do it for money. I gave all the money to the charities. It wasn't about that. They had a homeless charity, a lot of different kinds of charities on there. I gave all that away.
Yeah.
But you could say what you wanted, They didn't censor you. You know, you owned your content. Yeah, everything you posted in order to be eligible to you couldn't go, you know, to Google and Google Images and get a picture and stick it out there with a few words on it, and you couldn't get away with that. You had, and that's why I learned. I had to learn how to make my own memes and things like that. But you know, it did a better at doing it. The quality between people is way different because everybody is serious. And
City Bull, I think we're getting some data loss from you. It sounded like digital feedback. You there?
like up here now.
Yeah, you know what? You know what might help? Just drop out of the call and just come back again. It should resync. Should.
Right.
Yeah. Just drop out of the call and just jump back on the call. It should work.
All right.
All right. Let me see if we can get him back again. You there?
Lags.
Oh, I know. There's nothing working today. Yeah, what is it? 5,000 millisecond. Yeah. Hey.
Did that help any?
Yeah, I'm here.
Did that help?
I can hear you. Oh, I know. There's nothing working today. Yeah, what is it? 5,000 millisecond. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, that took even longer.
Is there someone in the background that I can't hear or I can barely hear, or is that?
Can anybody hear me?
Is there just the three of us here now?
No, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5. Yeah, because some of them, I can hear you two pretty well, and the other ones, I can hear somebody talking, but it's real low.
Just.
Yeah, I'm getting that too. I don't know where that's coming from. It's very low,
I
though.
bet it's the NSA guys. That's probably what it is. The NSA guys.
Yeah, can you hear me fine?
The guys that are always there, but they never click like on your post. You know.
No, they're the ones deleting your post.
You know,
yeah,
so what we were talking about is that even before the show is that when we're dealing with Facebook censorship is something that I've been looking into. Is a lot of these live streaming places where like there's UpLive and a couple other ones that are popular in South Asia. Which might be a platform that we might have to go to. I mean, if Facebook kind of keeps up this behavior to the point where we're shadow banned, and I kind of know the precursors about why all this started. They believed that they needed a filtering process into how seeing content, and it gradually grew on to political and interests and all that, which was probably the plan the whole time. But Facebook has literally come to the point where it's almost ridiculous to try even getting content on it.
Nobody likes them anymore.
Yeah.
They feel like they have to control us though, because I don't know if they leave us unchecked, who knows what'll happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
they ran into a problem when they have finally figured out that their propaganda doesn't really work anymore. I mean, it took them a while to realize that, and it obviously hasn't stopped them from pushing it like they always push it. But there was some point a few years ago where they realized they had to do more because their propaganda is not working.
Yeah.
more censorship. They can spew the same spew, but now they have to come after you because
Yeah, but
the
I
they're
understand what
losing the
you're saying,
narrative.
and I agree. I agree with what you're saying. Where they're not getting it quite right, they can shut us up, but it's the people out there listening to us that think their propaganda is bullshit is a real problem. You know,
Yeah.
a whole lot of people are just not buying it. A whole lot of people are not buying it.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's not obvious until you are an activist or a content creator or a news media outlet or you're trying to get a viral post because you want some attention to a certain subject. It's you literally see it on the back end once you start doing these things on this platform. You know.
You're
Yeah,
all Russian.
we probably sound crazy to people who aren't involved in it because they don't see anything like that.
Well, of course, because they're
They
posting
show the
about
picture.
they're posting about, oh, look, I ate a pizza today, and the cars.
Here,
Look at the sky. This is a
here's my
beautiful sky.
cat. Yeah,
Yeah.
and Facebook don't care how many people see your cat. It doesn't bother them. And
What
don't
is
make
it?
that into something dirty. It wasn't something dirty. I didn't intend that as a dirty joke.
I
It's just
mean, I
but
mean, I mean, Zuckerberg basically spelled it out in his in his Q4 quarterly report for the investors on this call. I'll spit out the link to in the chat room. That he doesn't want any political or activisms like basically on his platform. He's trying to fucking pull back all that fucking shit and make it mindless, self indulgent, like. You know what I mean? Like, look at my fucking penis, and look at this, and look at
yeah,
that,
they just
and who's fucking
yeah they
who,
don't
and
want they don't want well thought out truth. They want mindless drivel.
yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
they base your life off a like or a smiley face or a heart.
I have real friends. They gave me likes.
Yeah,
Look how many likes I have. Yeah.
I'll take more pictures like this and put them up.
So I mean, are there still some good content creators on Facebook? Yes, but none of them are involved in political activism. They really haven't felt the brute force of it. But the second they start moving towards that area, they're gonna find themselves, hanging on a rope.
Well, there are some. I think there are some activists and truthers out there that are really good with their content. I do. Uh, but for the most part, yeah, the ones that are doing it's kind of mindless. It really is, and I don't know. It just seems like a waste.
Yeah, yeah. We've even seen this, with Rupley and RT will put up a lot of controversial shit, and they will have their shit censored numerous times since I've been following those people on this platform. But CNN doesn't go down. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, yeah, but I mean, you know how it is. Is
CIA and
that
them.
true, or did you hear it on CNN? I mean, CNN is not very good example. I don't think.
well,
You know what I
you
mean?
know what I mean. There are other news outlets that
Yeah, I
don't give
know.
their shit. Yeah,
I'm just making a joke, really,
yeah,
but
Snopes.
yeah, yeah. Snopes,
yeah,
yeah,
Snopes. I
Snopes,
mean,
the fact
Snopes said
checker.
it's not real. It's not real.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's how I used to be able to tell if somebody was a troll or not. If they quoted something from Snopes, troll. It, it seemed like that's where all of them got their facts from.
yeah. I thought it was almost ridiculous on how Facebook said that they would be fighting fake news, and they were fighting fake news using Snopes as a reference point. That was a real fucking stupid
Yeah,
fucking move.
yeah. You know what I thought was funny? I don't know how many people heard about it because it wasn't here, but they talked about that fake news and stuff, and even their investors said that they don't want this fake news on Facebook. The stockholders said they don't want the fake news on
Oh
there.
yeah, for sure,
Something needs
for
to be
sure.
done.
What they what
And
what?
and
Go ahead.
and then next thing you know, Australia is suing Facebook, and I forget which other one. It's two of them they were suing for fake news.
Austria and Ireland, I believe.
And yeah, and yeah, they were suing
Germany.
Facebook
Germany's
because
still
it's
got.
fake news. And it's not us putting the fake news out there. I know that. So they might call it fake news, but we know what I mean, we do our research and we know it's true. We might make a little mistake here or there once in a while, but we don't put anything out there that's fake intentionally ever.
Yeah, what's a little
We
fiction with nonfiction, anyways? Yeah.
Well, yeah,
yeah,
what the investors want is, that new Facebook ads that have been coming on into viral videos is that's all that they want it to be. They want it to be viral personal videos of you doing dumb shit and then putting in commercials so you buy their fucking products. They don't want any fucking news on this platform. They don't want viral information out there. They just want it, like we said, like mindless self-indulgence on this platform.
I mean, Discord it's a cool chat app and all that. I mean, there's a little bit of a learning curve, but that it has a lot of features and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I don't know as far as the social media. I don't know how well that'll work. I mean,
It'll
I
kill
admit I
them
haven't
long
gone through.
term.
Huh?
It'll kill them long term. I mean, it's obvious a bad. Nobody really is going to like that, so they'll eventually move away. But it's going to take time. They're killing their own model.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think they are. Yeah. So,
They'll never ask
classic.
for ID either.
You did hear that they bought that electronic uh, government ID verification company. Facebook bought one.
Oh yeah, I was talking about it several times myself. ID 2020.
Yeah, so
Or
stock accounts and stuff.
even the
Can't get
government
access to
says
their
the reading of the biometrics is dangerous, even for them. Yeah. It's easy to pinpoint military bases. All you need is that IP and poof, showdown.
Yeah.
Well, they're so bad about their security. I mean, it always gets. It seems to get leaked out as bad as any of the other corporations. So
I was sitting here spying on, I can't say spying, that's been the wrong word. I was checking out
oh,
North and South Korea, and the North Korea cyber army shut me out. I was like, wow.
Well, you know why they can do that? Because that's a psyop. North Korea is run by the CIA. I mean, you don't think that little fat little guy like scared America away with his little nuclear weapons that couldn't get off the launch pad?
No, I'm sure most of us, we're held hostage by our need of shoes, our need of shirts, our need of gas, our need of oil. China, we send over half of our processed meat from, California to China and back from China to California because nobody here wants to chop it up.
Yeah, China's buying all of this country anyways, aren't they?
Oh, they
Oh
already own
yeah.
us. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they pretty much own it. They bought enough of our debt and everything. They pretty much own us.
well, it's kind of weird. I mean, we bring all these immigrants in to do the work, and yet we still don't seem to have anybody to do the work. It's like something got lost there in the.
Yeah, that Michio Kaku or whatever his name is.
Dr. Michio Kaku, yeah.
Yeah, he was talking about America's secret weapon, and what our secret weapon is the people we bring in from other countries that have the technical know-how because our schools ain't good enough to put out enough of them. So we have to keep a good flow of them coming into the country to be able to do what we need to do. And that's kind of a scary thing, you know. I mean, we're teaching our kids to be good slaves, so they're not learning how to think.
Well, they're more than willing. That's my problem with this generation. Even if somebody was trying to do that to you, you could always go out there and read a book or get on the internet and find information if you still wanted to be
Yeah,
smart. But they willingly go along with it.
yeah.
They
I mean,
want to be
you're right
stupid.
about that. I mean, in school, dude, I was lousy, man. I mean, I couldn't get good grades. I couldn't pass tests and stuff. Most of what I learned after I got out of school, after I dropped out of school and studied on my own. And you just get a book and read and do it while you're learning about it and doing it at the same time. It'll stick. You'll learn it. And so I learned to back years ago when there were before even before Windows came around. I had an MS DOS computer, and I'd sit there with the book of the MS DOS masters, and I'd read that and I'd type it all in there as I was reading it, and I'd do everything that it was saying to do. And man, you can really learn fast like that. You don't need someone to teach you. All you need is a book and the will to learn it. And pretty much anybody can do it.
You have to have that piece of paper backing, saying you can do it, or the job's not there.
Yeah, that's true. But you get in school and all they're doing is teaching you how to pass the standardization tests and stuff. They're not teaching you anything really. So this question on the test, we better teach Junior how to do this, uh, and then they're teaching them stuff like algebra and stuff like that. Most people are going to get out there in the world and not ever use that. The only ones that ought to be learning that are the ones that need to learn that. I mean, if you're going to get out there and just be an auto mechanic all your life, you don't need to know algebra to be an auto mechanic. It, it depends what you're going to do. That's why I like some of these schools that are what do they call them? I forget the name of it. You know what I mean. The ones where they kind of let you learn on your own and go your own way. Uh, in those kind of schools, those people can get somewhere because they're not all forced to go the exact same direction.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want everybody. You can't learn everything, so you shouldn't teach everybody the exact same thing. You should kind of let what they want to do guide what they're learning. If you do that, you're going to end up being a lot better off. School. I remember we had a store, and my dad used to get so mad because they didn't have all these computers that told you exactly what to do. You had to know how to count change, everything else. And my dad would get so mad because the schools are putting out people that couldn't count change. And that's pretty bad when you go through 12 years of school and graduate, and they send you off with all this celebration and everything else, and you can't even count change. I mean, that's pretty bad. And then those people they are intelligent enough that if they're just taught the right things, they can function out there just fine.
Yeah.
I mean, the world's fucked up and stuff. It really is. I don't know what happened to it. You ever heard of the Peter Principle?
The what? The
Where
what principle?
the Peter Principle, it's called. That's a theory that you go and you get in a job and you do well, so they promote you, and then you do that a certain amount of time and you learn to do it well, so they promote you, and they keep doing that. But eventually, you're going to get to a level where you're no longer able to function at that level. So what do? They leave you in that position where you can't function instead of dropping you back one level back, and they leave you there where you're no longer competent.
Yeah.
And that's why you go into this store or that restaurant or whatever, and you get some moron waiting on you that they can't because they've already reached their level of incompetence. And so, and that's basically that's called the Peter Principle. There's a book on it, and you can really see it out there. The whole thing is to get promoted, get promoted, get promoted until you are no longer competent. That doesn't make much sense.
Yeah.
Only put the people up there who in those higher spots that are capable of it. But a lot of times you get somebody running this company or that company, and they're really they don't know what they're doing, and so it stagnates.
somebody sharpening their sword there or something? What was that?
Oh no, that was me just rubbing my hands together like. No, I'm just cooped up in this room.
Claustrophobia setting
Yeah.
in.
How long do you guys do your show for?
We sometimes 3 or 4 hours. We're at almost the 3 hour mark.
Yeah.
Depends on who falls asleep last.
Yeah.
I like. Yeah, there you go. The one guy sitting there talking, and all of a sudden he realized he's been talking for 45 minutes and nobody else is awake.
That's happened before too.
Yeah, we do our show. I like that because we do just a 1 hour show.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose you have people though with the type of show it is. You have people that'll come in halfway through it and watch. They'll start watching it and leave after an hour and a half or whatever. So you got all of them, but
Yeah,
we do this
you guys
show, we
stream
record it.
you guys stream or you guys upload to YouTube, right?
Yeah, we upload to YouTube. We do it. We pre-record. Yeah, but I mean, our show's a little different. I mean, we have like basically we mostly have, and that kind of the purpose of it is for people to be able to by anonymous telling them instead of listening to the government or the news or whatever, because we don't fare too well on the news, and if you listen to the government, we're a bunch of jerks and terrorists and getting credit cards and stealing all the money off them. And, we don't even have that many hackers now.
Yeah.
We're more of an activist group, but they still want to put that reputation on us. So, I mean, you guys ever get that where somebody will come into a group and they're like, "Hey, man, help me hack this."
All the time.
and I mean, dude, I'm not a hacker, but you know what? If I was, I wouldn't tell you. I mean, but they still come in.
Yeah, I usually have them click a little link that kicks them off of Facebook. Yeah, it's right here. All the answers right here. Click it. Bye.
Can you tell me how to hack Facebook? No, I'm not telling you. And goodbye.
The most asked question ever.
Yeah.
If we knew how to hack Facebook, we'd fix the problem we have with getting, keeping a sock in our mouth, basically. We'd fix that problem and we'd be able to get our message out a lot better.
Yeah, I would just tell them, keep on using that brute force script. That's gonna work, right? Just keep on doing it. Just keep on doing it and see if you even get it.
Keep on doing that brute force till the cops get there.
There's so many protection layers above on Facebook that if the IP is not lining up with something that it was used before, you just run into another problem. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you switch.
There's a little hint on Facebook happening.
You got to show us your ID now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hitting it with a dictionary attack or something.
Yeah.
We have a session hijacking for Facebook.
No, we're gonna DDoS Facebook. We're gonna shut it down. Yeah, right.
They have so many servers. It's literally you would literally have to be attacking every little sub-district.
Yep.
You'd have to attack.
Yeah, so they got so much redundancy that it'd be really you need like a army of people. It'd take
or botnet attacking several different servers at the same time. I mean, it's not as easy as people think.
Yeah.
Unless you can get them all clickbait.
Yeah, some Trojans on some employees' computers, I guess.
That
would work. I heard it.
They do need to get shut down, though.
I heard even in Facebook, Facebook employees are not allowed to bring in like USB sticks and like outside devices into their offices, though. That's what I heard.
They're pretty paranoid, these people.
Almost got a lot of angry fans.
I'm not sure I'd even want to be a Facebook employee, to be honest with you. You know, I mean, that means you have to do what Mark Zuckerberg says.
Well, yeah, I mean, and the fact that a lot of their staff is spread out throughout the world, it's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, and the fact, you know, you can't block Mark Zuckerberg.
I didn't know that. I
No,
never
not block
tried.
him. You can spam the shit out of him though. You can't
That's
block him.
that's a good way to lose your account, though.
Report the shit out of
Yeah,
his
that's true.
pictures.
Yeah, there you go. That's what we all should become report fags and just gang up on Mark Zuckerberg.
You know, it'd be funny to create a Mark Zuckerberg account and then like see how many people like start contacting that account, and then reports Mark Zuckerberg as the fake one, even though it doesn't have the check mark, and see how far it goes.
It's been done before.
Oh
Somebody actually made him think that his account was hacked by reporting his wallpaper photo as something else. And when Facebook changed it, he wanted to know who changed his wallpaper.
God. But yeah, no, like yeah, this even happened to me the other day. I had somebody copy my account. I reported to Facebook that they were the fake account impostering my real Facebook account that is never active. Facebook deletes my account and keeps the fake one.
Oh yeah, it was amazing, man. It's like
It
they
was
like they
like,
delete your
dude.
account.
So I had to send in my picture. I didn't only send the person my picture. I had sent them a picture of me holding my fucking ID. Like, dude. And I was telling this like admin or whoever the fuck it was. I assumed I was talking to a human in the messages
Yeah, but
that
you know,
you're
if
so
you
fucking stupid. Like, are you high?
all you have to do though, you make a fake account. All you got to do is just go on Google Images and type in picture ID
Oh yeah.
and just start looking through them and find one that looks like a really good one and open your account in that name. You know, that's where you live. That's where you know.
Or just ask your friends to give you their IDs.
Yeah, that works too.
Yeah.
If you plan to do that, make sure to change the size and the brightness of these pictures so it's a unique picture again.
Oh yeah, so it's not
Yeah.
replicated over and over again. Yeah, they pick up on that shit.
Yeah.
You just paste a picture of yours on the ID and go with it.
There
Turn
you
your
go.
face into a sticker and boop.
You know what I think is ridiculous is that you need a government ID, and the naming convention on Facebook has to align with a person. I never really understood that because they own Instagram, where they don't have the same naming convention. Anybody could be anybody, and you know what I like. I really don't get the concept as though that wasn't their naming convention. I don't believe that's even defined in the terms of service. At least it might be now, but like when I signed up to Facebook, that was never in there. You know?
Yeah. You know, when I first started at Facebook, I I hated one of their rules because I was wanting you can have 5,000 friends, right?
Which is stupid. Doesn't make
And
any
so
sense. Like why 5,000? You know?
yeah, I mean that's a dumb number. I mean nobody
Who
wants
really
exactly
likes you that much
5,000 friends.
anyway?
But yeah, I mean I when I got to 5,000, I figured something out. I only know about 500, if that.
Yeah.
And you know, I'll start talking to somebody online and don't even realize they've been on my friends list for 2 years and I never seen them before. You know, I mean, when I was trying to build my list up to get enough people following me where I could reach a lot of people, I'd start sending these friend requests out. And I mean, I got nailed by Facebook a bunch of times. You're not supposed to do that. You're only supposed to send them a friend request if you know them outside of Facebook. If you already know them, well, that's kind of stupid, you know. And then I learned about what their name came from. at a university, you go there, all the new students, they put these things together called a Facebook, and everybody gets one of them so they can get to know each other. Well, if that's what it's designed around, then why do you have to know them already to become friends with them? Isn't that supposed to be what it's for? So you can become friends with them? And, that's really a stupid rule. I mean, if you follow that rule by the letter, then you'll never meet anybody online.
Yeah.
You just be online interacting with the people you already know, which makes no sense at all. I mean, why don't you just go hang out over at their house? It, I mean, it's kind of stupid. But yeah, that's their rule. I don't understand why it is. And then you get those emails. Do you know this person? And you can't
Exactly.
click no on. I just put them in the trash, because if you click no on it, then they're going to get suspended or whatever. I mean, it's like a fascist Nazi online gathering place or whatever. You know what I mean? I mean, some of their rules are really, seems like there's no reason for them.
Yeah.
Overkill.
Hey, let me give a quick heads up to the listeners. This is the We Are John Lang special. We are being heavily censored, but if you want to learn more about the case of John Lang, visit the page on Facebook called We Are John Lang. You will find all about this case.
Yeah, this is ridiculous to the point where we're being censored, where we've had, what is it, almost 200 shares and 755 views and less than that in engagements. This is ridiculous,
Yeah, yeah, they're throttling it.
It's a,
They're
it's
going to
a
let us talk.
yeah, it's a form of shadow banning.
Yeah, they'll let us talk and say whatever we want to say. They
Yeah,
won't
but
tell you what to
we're
think or
talking
what to
to an
say.
empty.
They just won't let nobody hear it.
Yeah.
That's the new freedom.
You can say what you want to say, only to yourself, right?
Yeah. Well, sometimes I talk to myself though, because I need an expert opinion. So
The only person's gonna listen, huh?
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm also looking onto the back end of our options. If I can get this restreaming service working, and apparently we can stream to 12, almost 30 places at the same time. If I can get this thing working again. So
Yeah, that's kind of like decentralization in itself. I mean, they can only squeeze you so much.
yeah, if we're able to stream to 30 places at the same time, at least we get our message out there. It seems like the big hitters have hit us severely to the point where it's not a game of cat and mouse. It's to the point where we need to fight the system or the censorship in a realistic way, to the point where you don't put all your eggs in one basket, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I read an article. The reason that Facebook does a lot of what they do, and it makes a little bit of sense. They're in how many countries? I mean, they're all over the world. Some of those countries are totalitarian countries, or they're really tightly controlled and whatnot. And so they have to follow certain guidelines to be allowed to be in those countries. And that was how they grew to be so big, is trying to be everything to everybody, and just not enough. You know what I mean? I mean, nobody really gets what they want out of it, but there's a huge audience there that you can't ignore too. I mean, where else can you go and have billions of people? There's not many. There's not many sites that you can reach billions of people theoretically. At Facebook, you can't reach that many people no more.
Not anymore.
You can't even come close. But at one time, yeah, that was a huge advantage. And that's like you say, they're shooting themselves in the foot. They really are, because they're not just squeezing us off. They're squeezing themselves off too. So, they're capping what they can be.
Yeah. Anybody
Oh,
there?
what happened?
I don't know.
I'm here.
I guess we lost
I
everybody.
don't know.
Well, sometimes we get
Beginning
these
to sound
weird
like
pauses. Yeah.
beginning to sound like that MCI guy. Can you hear me now? You know. Whatever happened to them, anyways? MCI, are they still around?
No, they went bust because I had a bunch of their stock around, oh man, 2001 or so. And
Yeah, I
yeah, they
had
were
some.
5-star rated. Yeah, they went bust, man. I kind of ate
Yeah, I
that
had some.
one.
I pay like $3 for it and got 5 for it, something like that.
What'd you say, NCI?
MCI, yeah.
I haven't heard about. I haven't heard. Isn't they? Aren't they a telecom company?
Yeah,
Oh, they were years ago, like
yeah, their
15 years ago.
symbol was MCIC, but the name of it was MCI.
Gotcha. What else can we talk about?
I could think of one thing to talk about. Get back on the subject here, talking about the situation here. Uh, you know, we talked about the homeless situation and the way they do with that. Another thing is, and I think I know why it is, the marijuana. You know, they made marijuana legal in the last election, right? And so the voters spoke, and the voters actually overruled the state legislature because the state legislature had voted to not legalize it, and the people overruled that. They voted it in. Well, the city of Fresno, pretty much the chief of police is the one pretty much responsible for it. Said, so technically, it is legal here. I mean, if you get caught with some weed, you're not going to jail for it.
Yeah.
But they can't sell it. You can't sell it here. You don't have no dispensaries. No, so you still got the black market. You still got dealers everywhere selling weed. And the reason I think they did that is because, you know, the number 2 guy, the deputy chief of police,
Yeah.
a little over a year and a half ago, something like that, was arrested for dealing drugs. And one of the drugs he was dealing was weed. I mean, his office door is like 6 feet from the chief's door. How do you do that? He's dealing OxyContin, weed, and heroin. How do you do that without the chief knowing that you're doing it? You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? So they didn't want the competition. I think is why they don't want any dispensaries here.
I guess I know the city of Los Angeles or the county of Los Angeles, they sent out like 144 retail licenses, and Orange County got a couple. San Fran got a couple. Yeah, it's very odd.
Yeah, actually, it was better when it was medical. You know, when it was just medical.
Yeah.
I mean, got caught with it. It was still illegal, but as far as going and getting it, all you had to do is go to the doctor, pay the money, and get a card.
And then the second it
they'd say
becomes
anybody needed it, you know, and you just pay the money and they give you your permit for it, and then you can go, you know. And they had the dispensaries around where you could just go to them and get it, because it was a medical thing. And now that it's recreational, it's like looked at a whole different way.
Yeah,
I mean,
Jeff Sessions from the federal government thinks otherwise. As soon as the largest the largest consumer and producer of I believe it's medical marijuana becomes legalizes or starts handing out the right licenses to start dispensing it, Jeff Sessions the next day deems it that the federal government will not agree to previous administration laws and will start attacking it federally. And it's the most back asswards way of fucking doing shit,
But they did the same thing when they made it legal for medical. They did the same thing. They started coming in and attacking and arresting people on federal charges and taking them to federal court. I remember that Tommy Chong from Cheech and Chong.
Yeah.
they charged him with he was selling bugs online. He was on one of the late night shows, and the guy interviewing him says, "Is it illegal to sell bugs on the internet?" He says, "It is if you're Tommy Chong." I mean, they decide they're going to do it however they want to do it. They don't give a fuck what the voters say, and we're supposed to be running everything. We're supposed to pick our leaders and all that stuff, and we don't really pay. They just let us think we do. We don't have elections. We have selections. So, and they pick two people, and they give you the choice where all you can do is really pick the lesser of two evils. But I mean, isn't that inevitably you're voting for evil if you're just picking the less of two evils?
Yeah.
I mean, we really don't have a choice. So that's why I'm a little bit encouraged by Trump. I know he's still an elite.
Yeah, he's let in the assholes, come in despite his actions. Like, I mean, he's half of like what is it? Goldman Sachs is there. You know what I mean? It's
yeah. All of Hillary's buddies and shit. But I mean, there's pictures of Trump and Bill and Hillary that they're sitting there like just having a good old time.
But yeah, it's,
And, and
I have yet to. This is kind of unique though. I have yet since in my lifetime had a president in office that was always in the spotlight for saying controversial shit. And I know Alex Jones will defend this to the fucking light of day, saying that he's fighting the globalists. He's making. I'm like, no, he's really doing dumb shit. He's really saying retarded things. Like, this is what you're saying is fucking retarded.
and this QAnon thing. I mean, who is he? You know him? I don't know him.
I don't know who he is. Like, I think
Okay, if he's
probably a
if he's a
shill.
nom, then how come some of us don't know him? I mean,
Well, I think
anybody
he's a
knows.
Fed construct.
Well, I think I think it's a psyop is what it is. I think what it is that they're drawing our attention away.
Yeah, get you playing these stupid games. You're trying to decode all this crap. He's really not telling you anything new. It's most of it's out there.
And not only that, it seems like it's not one person anyhow. It seems like it's like a committee or at least three guys or something.
Three guys behind one profile that really have 26 profiles in every Facebook group up there.
Well, yeah, he's mainly posting to 4chan, but
yeah,
but people.
Well, 8chan now.
Yeah.
8chan. He switched. I don't know what the hell's the difference between 4chan and 8chan anyway.
4.
4, yeah. There you go. That was good, man.
Well, 4chan was the original. So
8chan is considered a Baphomet chan. It's way worse than 4chan.
I don't know. Like,
Well, that's interesting because it's like, I mean, I think there were actually like 4-track tapes, and then they became 8-track tapes, so it's almost following that. It's kind of weird.
It won't be long to be a broken record.
Well, no, you get cassettes, and yeah.
I think we ought to get back to our roots. So, I mean, we started on 4chan, right?
yeah.
And what were we? We were trolls.
Yeah, pretty much. That's all we were was trolls.
Yeah, pretty much we were trolls, and then we decided we were gonna they got shitty with WikiLeaks, and we got pissed off about that and started to, and then we started going towards activism, but we were still trolls,
Yeah.
And now you got all these government trolls, so nobody wants to be a troll anymore. It is kind of fun if you out troll a troll too. Because I mean, we all get them on our posts in the comment boxes and shit. They come in there and they say something really stupid. I mean,
see what triggers.
Yeah, they're trying to trigger you. That's what
He's got my triggers.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is kind of fun, and a lot of people don't understand really what trolling is. If you go back, if you study how we started and everything, and look at the hacker wars and stuff, videos like that, and learn about it. It trolling was not just being an annoying fucker. I mean, there was a purpose to it, and you
Information.
accomplish. Yeah, well, information, and not only that, but you could actually use that. If you back then, if you were a really good troll, they didn't even know you were a troll.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You you kind of you almost put into their head what you want them to think. And I mean that's what trolling was then. It was an art, and I mean
Yeah, people confuse
now,
shit posting with trolling these days. Like they don't know what the actual trolling was. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
Especially when you get them in like real life and you deliver like 20,000 20 pizzas to them. You know.
yeah. Or you prank the FBI and call them up and tell me, yeah, this is can I speak to Inspector or whatever such and such at this desk or whatever. And you have to talk to him about the flame botnet. And have you ever heard that one? Lowtech did it. They pranked the FBI. It's pretty funny. And I mean, that's anybody can go hassle people online, and that's what a lot of these guys that are trolling out. That's what they do. They're just annoying little script kiddie type people.
Yeah.
And they're not really doing anything. Or I mean, when you can call and prank the FBI, that's that's funny shit. I mean, it is. But nobody does that kind of shit no more. And basically, it's what we're doing. There's a whole bunch of us that are just trolling a whole bunch of other ones of us and starting a bunch of infighting and shit like that. And then you got a bunch of paid trolls in there starting infighting and everything. And I mean, we got really nothing to fight about, not with each other. So, but it goes on, and I think that's a lot of what it is that these young trolls that just think it's a matter of being annoying, and then you got these paid trolls that are coming in here and egging them on, and they're stirring up the hive,
Yeah.
basically. It's how they control us and keep us from doing what we need to do. One of the ways, anyway.
Like when you're talking about government paid trolls, we've run into a lot lately.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have. You can recognize a paid troll because I mean, eventually a troll will just go away and go somewhere else. But these paid trolls, they want to keep on and on and on because their whole purpose, what they get paid for, is to disrupt. If they disrupt you, that keeps you from getting anything done. That's what they want to do, and that's one of their purposes. And then another purpose is like to spread disinformation, like for instance with vaccines. They'll get out there and argue about how good the vaccines are and everything, and okay, well then how come everybody's dying? And if they work, then how come the kids that get the shots are worried about the kids that don't get them, giving them the disease? Because if the shots work, they wouldn't have to worry about it, right?
Yeah.
All right.
So I mean, they get in there and they make. I mean, I had one just today was a post about 9/11. It was kind of a satire post, and he's like saying all this shit like, well, that was caused by jet fuel and structural damage from the airplane. No, it wasn't, man. You try and throw a dart at a screen door. Is that going to knock down the screen door? No, it might put a hole through the screen door, but it's still going to be there intact. And that's basically what that was like. You flew that plane into it, and then I mean, who could really who bought that? If you stop and think about it, the plane just goes into it like a knife into butter, right into the building,
Yeah.
right through concrete and structural steel. Aluminum goes right through that.
And it popped out the other end like a dart, which is kind of weird.
It, well, because it was a missile, not but I mean, that's beside the point. But everybody knows what happens to a plane when it runs into something like that, a mountain or whatever, a building or who knows what. When a plane runs in or another plane, it busts into a million pieces.
Yeah, vaporizes pretty
Uh,
much.
yeah, look at what happens. Look at what happens when a bird hits the nose of one of them. and we're supposed to believe that that thing went right through that building,
Yeah, that
and
was
not
a
even one piece fell down on the outside. It all went in. It makes no sense. I mean, you can pick 9/11 apart, and hindsight's 20/20. I know, but I mean, you can pick it apart about 100 different ways easily.
yeah.
So,
Well,
I mean, I
even
got
that
one
day,
question.
remember when they said that Building 7 was collapsed, 30 minutes before it actually went
Yeah,
down? And,
yeah. She's sitting there
give me a
talking about
break.
it. She's been talking about it 10 minutes, and all of a sudden it falls behind her. You know?
Yeah, you could see it on air. You could see it falling. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was like, man, we got to get her to do the weather report. So
Yeah, the building that
these
wasn't hit by anything.
yeah. I mean, I got a meme I made that I post all the time. It doesn't have a picture or anything. It's just a black square with these bright color fiery looking words in there. It says Building 7. That's all it says. People click like crazy on it. They know what I'm saying. It, Building 7 makes no sense. And if you can explain that, then I might listen to you on 9/11. Until you can explain Building 7, the rest of it's bullshit. If it wasn't real, none of it was real.
I thought when that architecture and engineering group came out, and I mean, there were a lot of big names in there, thousands signed onto it. I thought that would be, the what would switch people's mindset on that. When they flat said, "Hey, look,
Yeah.
this can't happen this way," but they got pretty much blown off too. It's
Well,
amazing.
a few people understood it. A few people listened long enough and hard enough to understand. But you're right. You know, by and large, it didn't do much good. So, and you had that. That you familiar with that general? His name was Stubblebine, the
Mm-mm.
retired general. And I mean, they couldn't call him a nut because I mean, the government trusted him to run the entire foreign uh, battle plans. Everything off our soil. Basically, he designed all the battle plans. So they couldn't call him a nut. And he just come right out and said, that hole in the Pentagon, that was not a plane.
Oh yeah, it was definitely
There's no way.
it was definitely a missile. I do believe
Yeah,
that.
he said, I've seen, he said, I can't tell you what it was, but I can tell you it wasn't a plane. And I can tell you I have seen missile holes that looked kind of like that. You know, it, when somebody like that says it,
Yeah, but there was no
most people will
debris
listen.
either. There was no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, they even said that on one news report. It only went out over the air live, and then they never replayed it. The guy says there's no sign of a plane crash here. He said that right on the news. I was listening to it that day, and I heard it live when he said it. There was no sign of a plane crash. Where was the luggage and all the clothing and seats and stuff like that? There was none of that.
No.
Little tiny pieces of what might have come from a plane, maybe. But I don't know. And then everybody got all gung ho about that guy on that one plane, that Let's Roll guy, who I forget his name now. But okay, that was bullshit. It didn't happen.
Oh,
You
about
know?
the one that went down in the middle of Pennsylvania, or
Yeah, yeah. And the passenger supposedly attacked the hijackers and drove it into the ground. They shot that thing down. Is what happened.
that's a great story and all, but that's probably not that's like not the truth.
Yeah, and and all these people on the planes calling and telling their wife or their husband goodbye. Okay, that's a real cool story, but
You're
in
that height.
2001,
Yeah, I was gonna say
you
it.
couldn't call from that height. Yeah, you couldn't call on a cell phone from that height. So that was bullshit. There's so much of it was bullshit that, and I don't think planes even hit the twin towers. And I know it didn't. I know plane didn't hit the Pentagon. So what did?
That's then another story that cell phones didn't even work at that level back then.
Right? Yeah, they didn't at all. I mean, it was good more than 5 years later before they did. So, and even to this day, they don't work all that great up there. But And then there's another way you can look at it too. I mean, like I said, there's 100 ways to debunk it. Think about the Pentagon. If you go file, I don't care, you're the best pilot with the best plane, whatever. You file a flight plan in Washington D.C. You fly off course and see if you can get to the Pentagon. I dare you. You'll never get there. I mean, that's the most protected airspace and the most protected building and the highest security of any building in the world. And they didn't even get a fucking video. You know, the cameras all over the place, and they didn't even get a video. A month later, it come out with one video that showed a plane coming in there. That wasn't a plane. If it was a plane, it would have filled up the entire screen. You know, what you saw was a missile zoom across there, and they did it just at the right speed where you couldn't tell what it was.
Yeah.
Well, I can't believe you still got people that are arguing about it, though.
A lot of people don't do the research, you know, and Rosie O'Donnell made the tinfoil hat people just look fucking retarded because Rosie O'Donnell didn't have a whole truth or enough information to fucking, you know, say shit. But like, you know, you don't have you're not really a tinfoil hat, you know, guy, you know, when you're talking about 9/11 because it's the story that we were told from the official story that we were told is absolute bullshit.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. And then you talk about Rosie O'Donnell, and then you hear this shit about Oprah's going to run for president.
Who?
I mean, wow.
Oh yeah, you got 1 billion in there. He's a white male, so you have to have a black female now, who's a billionaire also.
So they got like quotas or something for the presidency now.
Well, no, well,
That's
what's most
kind of,
important is that they're billionaires and they're plugged in. That's the most important thing.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh god. Looks like
Hmm?
a promoter lost their account. Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the accounts went down.
Oh my god.
Picture verification. Again.
Oh my god. Jesus Christ. We are going down like flies again.
I mean, you know, I think by probably this time next week, we probably won't even be able to log into Google Hangouts at this rate. You know, it's
Well, you know, we do have an alternative to doing this show on a different platform. That we've already got handled, and I'm looking at the places that we can stream to, which is about 30 places at the same time. So I think if we gradually in the next week or so move over to other platforms, I think we can still do this. You know, it's just going to take some adjusting.
You guys ever watch the Red Pill Hardcore? You ever watch that?
No,
no.
because I got into a fight with Anthony.
Yeah.
There
Well,
was
yeah,
some,
that's Anthony.
yeah, there was some name calling going back and forth. Oh, V, you know V.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and him got into an argument. But
Well, I know Anthony. Yeah, basically.
yeah, it was nothing
Had
personal.
V,
But
had V on the show too. So he was like our third show.
yeah, I think the last time we talked to each other was this time last year.
All right, what'd you guys do? No.
Dude, it's complicated, but it involves like an ex-girlfriend and a bunch of pictures being mailed to the wrong place. But yeah,
Hey guys, let's do this off air, I guess.
Yeah, there we go. That's probably better.
Yeah.
Gonna hurt our viewership.
Yeah. I think a couple of us are asleep, right?
What?
We're all
Yeah,
just,
micro went to bed.
well, let's don't wake him up.
Let's see what else is going
Yeah.
on.
Any more comments?
Oh, I haven't checked. Let me check the comments.
Some people say the stream locks and they have to like refresh and stuff.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's a new Facebook upgrade.
Well, yeah, and I'm also have the keyframes at the right rate, so it's this is on Facebook ends for the part of the shadow banning. I almost think it's deliberate.
Yeah, I do too. It's not the first time. I mean, it's happened on when I did a radio show. It happened on there a few times. It seemed like it depended on who the guest was, and the boring shows you could go just fine. Everybody could hear just fine, and and then everybody else started having lag, and they couldn't hear well, and stuff like that. There's a bunch of noise interference and stuff. If you had somebody good on.
Oh yeah, that
You
seems to
actually
be the way it works. I think we had one of our bigger guests come on, and the whole platform of Google went down right before the
Yeah,
show.
I'm pretty sure they got a guy out there sitting at a desk that's got these buttons and each one's labeled. And yep,
He's like, "Hey, can you make
anonymous
Hangouts
bites
go?"
back. Push that button on anonymous bites back there. They're actually telling the truth. Push that button. You know. Yep.
Let me see. G Lee says, "Let's talk about Vegas and the Las Vegas shooting." Um,
Mm.
yeah, we've kind of covered that quite in depth. I think
Yeah.
over the last this show and in the last others. Not those.
Yeah. We did one show on that. We didn't have a guest. Just Inky and I did the show, and it was our best show actually, as far as the amount of views it had.
Yeah.
And but, yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff, and it almost seems like you can come up with really like 5 different ways that whole thing went down that all make sense. It really wouldn't surprise me if all of them were true.
Well, you know what I get mad at about people that say that it didn't happen. I personally know somebody that was shot there.
Yeah, and people need to understand, false flag doesn't mean it was fake.
Yeah, doesn't mean the whole
Most
thing was fake.
Yeah, most false flags, people really die. People really get hurt. You know, I mean, there's very few of them that are actually out and out fake. One I could think of would be maybe Sandy Hook, but most of them, there's really people dying and blood and gore and all that stuff. False flag doesn't even mean that it's fake. It never had that meaning. So
Well, the reasoning is fake. The event can
right,
be real, but the reasoning is fake. Yeah.
Yeah.
right, or they put it all on as a production, but I mean, 9/11 was that, but they really blew them buildings full of people down. And so, but false flag, basically all that is it originated back years ago when most battles were at sea, and they would make a ship up to look like somebody else's ship and put their flag up as a false flag, and it would attack, and then they blame it on that other country and go attack that other country. And it was an excuse to go to war. Basically, you were making one up. Now it's used for all kinds of different things, but it's the same. It's an excuse to go to war. It's an excuse for the Patriot Act or Patriot Act and go to war in the case of 9/11. And so, because they wanted to do a few of those kind of things, we killed how many millions people died? Most of them civilians. You know,
Millions.
Yeah, I mean, just the women and kids in Iraq alone, it's a lot of them, a lot. And it turns
G
out,
G Lee says people died. I understand. I heard something about casino machines mining.
well, yeah, they've been doing that a long. They were doing that before.
I never heard about the casino. I don't even know what a mining casino machine be. What are they mining?
Mining,
Your
they're
wallet.
mining, they're mining Bitcoin. They're mining the wallet. However, it does it. They're using the excess computer capacity that's in the casinos because every one of them slot machines is a computer.
Well, yeah,
So they're
essentially, yeah. I
taking,
mean, yeah. You could actually, now that I think about it, it's a computer. It's got internet capability. It's
Hmm.
right.
possible.
Yeah, it's from one video I watched. This guy's pretty knowledgeable. He's been into artificial intelligence and all of that his entire life since he was a kid, And he says, yeah, they're doing it, and it's not just the casinos. I mean, everybody, Walmart is, uh, they're all into mining. Eventually, they want to where they want it to be is like if you're going to go to Walmart, you have to get Walmart's brand of Bitcoin, or not Bitcoin but cryptocurrency. You have to get their cryptocurrency to
Yeah.
buy their stuff, and how that's going to work, I don't know. It
You know what?
doesn't make
It's
sense to
funny you
me.
say that, but I often question myself as I've watched the cryptocurrency market kind of grow over the years, and I've often asked myself like, because how is this going to make this easy for the end user where there's over 1,800 different cryptocurrencies? And then, like, when you look into depth on some of the cryptocurrencies, on the way that they're spent and how they're used, yes, they are, some of them are one retail or a few retailer only current, cryptocurrencies. And besides an exchange, you can't use them out anywhere else, you know?
But see, if you look just at the
Hmm.
cryptocurrency, I think you're being deceived because all that is a fake money, just like the dollar or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It, I think the story there is in the blockchain itself.
Oh, how
The blockchain is
Satoshi Nakamoto is not even a real, or Hakamoto, whatever how you say his name is. He's not a real person. Yeah.
but the thing is like there, at least if I understand it right, there's a much bigger purpose than just verifying the transaction. That's part of it, but there's a much bigger purpose. And it's
Uh,
kind of like 5G is not just for an internet connection, it's the control grid for AI, right?
yes, I mean, yeah,
You,
yeah, it
you,
is kind of odd that they do have a public ledger, but that's how they do the mining process, and
right.
It's not necessarily required. It's because there are cryptocurrencies that don't have public ledgers. You are right. There is
Hmm.
something a little odd about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like there's another purpose, and it I think that other purpose has to do with AI. I wish I could explain to you exactly how it would work, but it seems to be related.
Yeah,
And they talk about
I wouldn't know where to start. As far as mining data or interpreting data on what wallet was spent to what wallet. But I guess you could get a picture on how much currency is going back and forth. But
and I know they just use that as a way to track it and verify it, but nonetheless, that information is there, so it's not quite as anonymous as everybody looks at it.
oh no, anybody
You
can look at the
know,
public ledger, and you can do a basic search
right?
for a wallet to see, or a transmission to see if it was sent.
Uh,
Yeah, it's very public actually.
I'm gonna have to. I got like 4%. This thing's gonna die. Uh, so I can switch the battery, but I'll have to go off for a minute here.
I gotcha. Well, we only have like 15 minutes left, so I mean, or we can end it now
Well,
early.
I'll just skip out then. That
Uh,
I need to get my beauty sleep and all of that. So,
all right.
so all right. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. It was fun.
Oh, you're welcome.
Just wasn't real fun. You know.
All right.
All
Yeah.
right. Good night.
All right, you guys take it easy. We want to have you on From the Shadows too, all of you.
All right.
Not all
Cool.
at once necessarily, but if that's how you want, we can do that too.
All right.
So,
All right.
All right.
see you guys later.
All right. Good night.
Hey, take
All right.
care.
G Lee says it takes a lot of electricity to mine Vegas. Vegas has tons of inactive 4K screens. G, that makes sense. You know.
It's not green.
Yeah. Mining cryptocurrency is not exactly eco-friendly. It does require a lot of processing power and electricity. So, somebody says, "What about MMT?" And let me look up this. Is that a cryptocurrency? Hold on, I'm not sure. There's so many of them out there now. And I think Jeff Kenyon said a Rothschild coin is. Did he say that?
There might be a Roth
Yeah,
coin
Jeff
out
said.
there.
Yeah, Jeff said that all cryptos are controlled anyway now by the banks. So
But the Rothschild coin was a
probably,
joke.
yeah.
Wow.
At least I think it was. And I'm like rethinking myself. Like,
I hope it was.
I
a
hope
joke.
it was a joke. But they're not worth anything. You think if it was a real Roth coin, they'd be worth something. They could just manipulate the market and make it worth like $20-$30 after their ICO.
No, they've got all the gold, Tyler. All the shit they give you is fake, man. Fake fiat currencies, fake crypto. Yeah, that's what you get. They got the real stuff.
Yeah, the gold matters. Or the real
Yeah.
estate.
Sure, that's what they, look at what they do. It's all about the gold and hard assets.
Well, this year might be the year that crypto crashes. Holy fuck.
Yeah, it probably is. If you got India and South Korea
Oh, so no, South
bailing on it,
South Korea.
yeah, I
South
mean,
Korea didn't bail on it. They said it was too hard to the economy. But India is definitely doing this.
they're like 10% of the market too. That's a big hit.
100 billion just jumped off the market in 2 days.
Yeah, it was under 9,000, wasn't it?
Now it's at 8,400.
Yeah, it's
Jesus Christ. And I think it's funny how they say that a cryptocurrency crash is how it wouldn't affect the real world. That's kind of like that's a lot of bullshit, like from somebody you'd hear from Wall Street. But there are people that invested real dollars into this, and when people are losing their money, that does have a real economic effect.
well, they're gonna have to give that Lamborghini Countach back. See, it came easy, and now they're taking it away. It was a nice run. What did it last? About 2-3 months?
Yeah.
Jeez, man.
Jesus Christ.
I've seen so many of these. I mean, it's just like it's hard to tell people at the time, especially if they're making money in it. If they got in right and they're making money, but I mean, how many of these bubbles do you have to see before you get the idea? It's just all fake, man. It's all hype and
I would say the
manipulation.
only people that are making money today are the altcoins, specifically shitcoins.
I mean, I was running across Bitcoin IRAs. I mean, they were really pushing this in the investment fields. You're just like, oh man, that's you just have to know when it's a bubble, man. When they're getting the little guys' money in there like that, especially right at the end, it's a hijacking.
Yeah. course they are. Now they have Bitcoin futures that are being traded. They're doing Bitcoin futures on what I forget what platform it is.
That's the Chicago Mercantile,
Yeah.
CME, or yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was another clue. That's fake leverage on top of fake.
Yeah, they just second Wall Street steps in, they're just gonna crash everything. And you know what's funny is that I think I've actually run into these pump groups. Some of these big ones that I'm in. I'm like, dude, like some of the sophistication there are to some of these things. I'm like, these have to be like fucking like Wall Street getting involved in market manipulation.
Well, didn't somebody say Goldman Sachs had gotten into it? Or I mean,
Yeah,
if that was true, I
they're
mean, when
building
they get,
they're supposedly
yeah,
building an exchange. Yeah.
I mean, they're the pump and dump specialist, man.
Yeah, I was literally put into one of these pump groups that had 140,000 people in it, and I was just like, holy fuck, this is no joke.
Yeah, when they're pumping it up and selling it up for the investors, and then of course they bail.
Yeah.
They get as soon as it goes up, they bail, and then they leave you holding the wet paper bag. It's what they do to everything. They do it to countries, Greece. I mean, just they don't care.
Whoever runs out with the most currency at the time, or the real fiat currency, whatever the fuck you want to call it, your fiat, is the winner, right?
Yeah, the biggest hijack means you win. You came out.
You came out of it with more than anybody, whatever the fuck you were trying to get.
Yeah. I actually had a banker tell me that years ago. He said, "You know what? No, nobody asks you where you got the money once you have it. They just want it. They don't really care how you got it." I was just like, really?
Using taxpayers' dollars to invest in. Who was that guy that got busted doing that? That was using taxpayers' dollars to invest in Wall Street. I forget. I forget who did that.
Oh man.
That was recent too. I can't remember who the
Oh
fuck it
wow.
was. But yeah, this guy ended up spending a shitload of fucking taxpayers' money. Was invested in Wall Street before he got caught. He thought he could make a profit and fucking lost a lot of it.
Well, the government was doing that for a while. Remember, they invested in GM and then all them solar companies, and they were fucking that up real good. They lost money. Uh, they're still, well, I don't know. Yeah, I think they might still be doing it. They were taking money out of the Ginnie Mae and Freddie Mac and all those. I mean, those are like private stock companies and all. They were taking money from that to fund Obamacare. I mean, it's just a slush fund now.
Yeah, Obamacare was a
They
joke
just
too.
they just get their hands into anything, even if it's private funds now. Just it's a slush fund for grifters. It's like the Clinton Foundation.
Yeah, the Clinton Foundation is another slush fund.
Yeah,
Or
it's a slush fund for grifters. Yeah, a very well financed slush fund for grifters. But
we should always
you know,
we should always
you
ask
know.
what happened to that money that they did in Haiti. Remember?
Oh well, they started out with one jet and they've got 10 now. I can tell you where some of it went.
The investors or the other guys that were involved. It
Oh
was
no, that's the Clintons. They've got a lot of corporate jets now. They don't need just one or two. They got 10.
yeah.
I guess if you're an elite and you can't, after you're through bragging about your jet or you have the most expensive jet and all that, then it's how many do you have? Well, I've got 10 now. I'm like, oh shit, I only got one. You know who's worse than the Clintons? Because they actually gave about 3 or 4% of their fund out. Bono has he's
That's
doing
what
the
I've
same
heard.
thing.
I've heard that
Less than 1%.
yeah, of his donations actually go to the place that he's donating to.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, that guy is such a piece of shit.
Yeah, come donate to me. I'll take all the money. That's fucking ridiculous.
How much time do we have left?
Like 3.5
3 or 4
minutes.
minutes. Yeah.
Let me just say real quick, this was the John Lang special. Visit the We Are John Lang page on Facebook for more information about John Lang and his case.
Yeah, I do apologize to the people that do see this episode. We've encountered a major shadow ban. So if you do see it, cool.
Yeah.
You are the resistance.
You are the resistance.
Yeah.
Let me see. Back end reach is
Let's see.
5,500, which is not reflected on the front end.
Should we do that public service announcement now that the back of the chair is against the wall?
Yeah.
Are we supposed to?
Something like that. Jesus Christ.
Hey, it's Occupied America, man. I mean, we gotta.
So I think I'll run with the outro. Also, next week will be Anonymous Bites Back episode 100. In case we run into a shadow ban again, we will be broadcasting. I'm going to try and get to at least another 10, 15 platforms by the end of the week, and we will post them on our page. So I will be posting links to the other places that we'll be streaming to, so you guys will not miss an episode. And I just thought about that. Maybe they won't see the post. I think that we will be posting to more than one page about where the post will be going, about where these other places to watch the show will be, but eventually we'll all be on board and seeing where you can see the show without any censor or shadow banning. Fuck you, Facebook. All right.
One hacker way.
Yeah, exactly.
When was he? When was he ever a hacker?
In college, maybe.
When he stole his friend's code.
Yeah. Let me try and do this. All right, thank you.
I hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly.